Hello and welcome back to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. This week, I'm just joined by Matt. Dan, we'll say, is out on assignment this week, but he'll be back with us next week. So we've gone through, we literally are just through the Halloween season as we're recording today. It's November 1st. So
yeah, but
it feels crazy to say that it's November 1st.
It's crazy already to even be in this part because I really felt like it was just February the other day. And
the other day, I was like, I looked at the weather and like, I cannot believe it's going to go from 30, 40 degrees from what it is now to what it is today. But it happened.
It's wild, dude.
It is insane. So we'll go through what we always do. Start with what we've been playing. For me, I will say, I've played more Silent Hill. I've not finished Silent Hill. I really wish I had. You're shocked. I'm shocked too. I just this past like 2 weeks, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on personally, so I haven't had as much time to dive into things.
Yeah.
I will also point. There's one other thing that may have faulted more time with Silent Hill, and we'll get to it. But I've played more of the Silent Hill remake, and I'm still enjoying my time with it. I still think it's a great remake. I don't have anything negative to say about it. It's just
that's good.
If you've been waiting for a new proper Silent Hill, even though it's a remake. If you never played Silent Hill, I think even though I like the first one more, and I think they should remake that one, this is the perfect place to start.
Gotcha.
So it's still that story. They haven't changed anything about it. So, but nothing else really negative to say on it. Most of my time has been spent playing that stupid card shop simulator game, because it's the kind of thing where like, I'll get done with work and maybe I'll eat something and then I'll tell myself I'm only going to play like an hour of it. Then I'll go play Silent Hill or I'll play something else. And that turns into like 3 hours.
Yeah, I was about to say, we know better.
Even though I've broken my save and I have like infinite money. And so all I'm really doing is just earning the experience points to buy even though I have the money, I'm earning the experience points to buy the next thing. I'm still like enamored with the game. So it did break the Pokemon mod and the one thing I read after that, so I had the Pokemon mod and that's fine. Yeah. And then they did another update. It removed all that and I was like, shit.
Oh, damn.
And then I looked into it and one thing people say is like they update the game much more frequently than the supermarket one. So that can break. And so I'm kind of like, maybe when they put out like their version 1.0, I'll put that mod back on.
That makes sense.
But I don't want to keep having to turn it back on. It breaks. Have to,
turn it back
keep
on.
doing that. That'll get annoying. So I played a lot of that though. And still really enjoying my time. It's hard for me to say like if I enjoy it more than the supermarket one. They're both the same but different in many ways. And like I said before, and I'll continue to say, this one feels more polished.
Yeah.
Like there's certain things like, for example, when you go to place like furniture items down or like shelves and stuff, when you get to like, you'll put like one shelving unit up that you can put product on. When you put the next one to it, it'll kind of snap in place. So it'll stay evenly. You can't do that in Supermarket Simulator.
Yeah, I was about to say, you have to like literally like pinpoint where it's going to be.
Pinpoint where you want stuff.
You have to squint your eye to be like.
Exactly. And that is something I'd really like to see in Supermarket Simulator.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, the updates they've done there have been great too. So, but there's just little quality of life things in this game that have made me gravitate towards it more than Supermarket Simulator as of late.
Okay.
So, and then the other day to finish, I was going to play Eternal Darkness. I was all excited to play that as the last game I was going to stream. And then I could not find either my Wavebird receiver. I have the controller. I can't find the receiver. And I could not find my other GameCube controller. So I was like, well, I need to come up with a backup plan. My backup plan was, well, Clock Tower Remastered came out.
Oh, yeah.
And it's for whatever reason, it's $5 cheaper on Steam than any other platform. Everywhere else is 20, but it's 15 on Steam. So I was like, I'll buy it on Steam. I'll stream it. Keep in mind, I've maybe looked at the game once when I was younger. And even then, I think it was the second one because the first one technically didn't come out in the States. And then my real experience with that series is like 3 and then Haunting Ground, which is spiritual successor. So I haven't really played the original one. And it's kind of like the same experience I had with Night Trap a couple years ago when they brought that back out, where like you get all excited, like, hey, it's going to be cool. And then you sound playing like, actually, no, this does not hold up very well today.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
It's a point and click adventure, but everything is very slow. And it's like that on purpose because you're getting chased by this dude with a giant pair of scissors. Yeah. That was the whole thing from the first one. Yeah. And so you can't really make your character run very fast. So it becomes this like, okay, I'll try and go down this corridor. Oh shit, there's no door here. Well, I can't turn around because here he is. I'm dead. You know.
Now I'm dead. Yeah, that makes sense.
So after a couple of those death sequences, as I was streaming, I was like, all right, we're good here. I guess I'll load up the Retro Arch and I'll stream something else. And so for whatever reason, I was like, I'll go down PS1 games, and I was like, you know what? I'll look at Parasite Eve. I haven't looked at Parasite Eve 1 in 20 years, probably longer. And the little bit I want to say I probably beat the first one. I don't think I ever beat the second one. But I was like, I'll look at this. And that led me to not only really enjoy my time with that instead, I think I'm actually going to dedicate and do a full run of that game on stream.
Okay.
Because I had such a good time playing it. Like, I forgot like how good the combat system in the game, how different, like it's a very unique game that I wish they would bring back. Like even do like a remaster or something. Like they're doing all these like PS1 to PS4 and PS5 games right now. This is one they should do. Like with at least that, because I know we're never going to do a full remake of the game. I get it. It's a franchise they're not going to revive. They should, but they won't.
That makes sense.
But I had a blast playing that. So that's pretty much it from what I've been playing. Like I said, I do have Call of Duty installed. I did get that. So I actually installed on both my Xbox and my PC.
Okay.
Because I kind of want to see if it works okay on PC, because Call of Duty's had a very spotty past with PC ports.
Yeah.
It's probably okay now because they're constantly updating that Warzone client. It's also annoying to download that. Like I don't know if you've downloaded or if you looked at Call of Duty yet, but it's annoying to download that because you download that client. Then you can at least pick like what you want. Yeah. Because if you install everything, it's like 250 gigs.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
And I'm like, I don't want all of this installed. I just want the Black Ops campaign. Maybe I'll look at the multiplayer and probably check out after that. So, and it's perfect. It's perfect for me for that to be on Game Pass because I really only care about the campaign. That's all I've really cared about for that franchise.
Same. I've play a little bit of Warzone here and there, but I'm not like huge into it. And I don't think I just feel like Call of Duty, like online players, they really are toxic.
The memes are true. Like the memes on that are true, especially like I laugh when every once in a while the meme will pop up of like, oh, I miss Friday nights on, the 360 chat with the boys. And then they'll play like an excerpt of that where people are just yelling obscenities. I'm like,
no, man,
I kind of don't miss that though. Like, cause it was just insane.
Listen, I get belittled enough during my work week. I don't need it anymore on Friday.
I don't need it at night too.
No, thank you.
My thing, like I think the 29. So the last one I played was Modern Warfare in 2019. I did play a little bit of that multiplayer. Okay. And I thought it was a good like return for that multiplayer after being burned out on it for a few years. Yeah. So I probably will look at this. The one that I played the most multiplayer of would probably be the original Modern Warfare 2, and then Black Ops 1 was like the big one.
I can understand that.
I played a lot of that. So and then going back forth between that and like Halo. So, but yeah, I will check it out. I'll have more to say about Call of Duty next time we record. Because I do really want to look at. I feel like that campaign's probably not very long. I've heard really good things, but I feel like it's probably not a long. Those campaigns are never that long. So
no, never. I think I feel like they're maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours max.
No, they're usually like 6 to 8 hours. I want to say, but like there was the one year they skipped making the campaign completely, and then people complain. And then there was one year where they made one that was, I don't remember what year. It could have been the one last year, but the campaign was like 2 hours long and people complained. So
yeah, I play because number one, I just like the campaign. I don't even necessarily like the story sometimes. I just like playing the campaign, just going through different missions and
they're
stuff.
very well made. They are very good at what they set out to do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So so I'll have a lot more to say about that the next time we record.
Gotcha. But
I look forward to playing it, and it's a perfect like palate cleanser between Silent Hill and then probably jumping into. I'm either going to jump into East Nordics or I might just wait until Dragon Quest comes out and play that first instead.
Okay.
Depending on Call of Duty. So
that makes sense.
And this stupid car shop game.
I mean, don't do it to yourself.
We have to be realistic.
Yeah, man.
I said when I discovered it, we talked about it one pack. I'm like, this will destroy my life if I buy this. Like,
it is. It's bad.
And it is. It's bad.
Man. That's like that gym game I got stuck on for a while, and then I haven't turned it back on because I'm like, man, I know I'm going to get sucked into this world. I can't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what have you been playing?
So I dived back into Dave the Diver.
Okay.
It's such a randomly good game. Like I've been fighting more bosses in there.
Okay.
And like everybody's a fucking kaiju of some sort, which is wild.
That's good. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. I just got done fighting. Well, one of the last bosses I fought was like one of those mantis shrimps.
Okay.
Yeah, he was huge, man. Like it was big, but it's cool because like once you beat once you defeat a boss, you kind of like take parts of them, and then you can take it to your sushi shop and you can make sushi or sashimi out of them or whatever dishes. Okay. So it's always nice. It's cool. Yeah, I really need to just finish it, like play through it and just get done with it. But then part of me is like, man, then can I go back and just do random stuff? Like
I would assume, like even if you finish like what the story of it is, it probably is like a Stardew Valley type thing.
Yeah, I feel like that too. And I still got like a lot of stuff I need to unlock in it. So I've been playing a little more of it here and there. Aside from that, I haven't really been playing much of anything. I did go ahead and jump in to Call of Duty as far as the campaign. I think I'm on like the 4th or 5th level. And I will say this one is different from the last one I played. I don't remember. I think the last one I played was the I want to say the one. Damn, now
was
I can't
it the Cold War one?
I think so. Yeah. Okay. No, actually, it wasn't the Cold War one. It was the one where they were. Damn it! Now I got to look it up because now it's gonna bug me.
So I think since I've had it, there was the Cold War one, Vanguard. I want to say was one of them. Mm-hmm. Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
And was there a 3 in there as well?
There was a Modern Warfare 3.
Okay, I'm not crazy on that. They did do a 3. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, so Call of Duty World War 2. That's the last one I played.
The campaign. Okay, that's a little bit further back. Okay.
Yeah.
I played that one as well.
That was a solid campaign. Yeah, I really enjoyed my time on that one. That was fun. That was probably the last one I actually played through. Because I haven't really been. I don't know, man. Like Call of Duty can be hit or miss sometimes, real big.
It can.
And so it's like if you're really not diehard playing like the multiplayer, it's kind of like what's the point in buying a $60 game for that?
It's always seemed to me like, and that's why I think it's perfect that it's on Game Pass now.
Yeah, for sure.
It's always been like the perfect rental game, in my opinion.
Perfect.
Because I know I'm never going to be that checked into them. I'm never going to get to that original Black Ops era. Like,
not at all.
I want to play multiplayer all the time. Like that bug's never going to bite me again. But it is the perfect, like, they're usually 6 to 8 hour campaigns, and I'm good. Like I finished, I go, that was solid.
That was fun. That was,
and every once in a while, there's one like Ghost wasn't a very good game. There's one other one in there. I did like Advanced Warfare. I really liked, and most people hate it, but the Infinite Warfare.
Yeah,
that space one, because I like space stuff. So that one I liked, but a lot of people hated that one for some reason, and that was why they were like, okay, we're gonna take it all the way back to World War II. So. And I enjoyed that one as well. And I even I was skeptical about rebooting Modern Warfare because I thought it was too soon.
Yeah.
But I ended up enjoying that. But I got to that point where we switched over to these new systems in 2020, and I was like, I think I'm good on Call of Duty for a while. And that turned into 5 years. So that's why I looked at. I'm like, boy, it has been 5 years since I played a new Call of Duty. So
Well, and I am the same way you feel. I'm thankful that it's on Game Pass because, like, and the cool thing is, when you go to the Game Pass and you go to download it, you have the option of buying like the Elite one if you really want to like buy the game. You know what I mean? So, like, if you really are a fan of it, then yeah, totally buy it. But if you're just gonna play for the campaign and then pretty much check out for everything else, there's really no point in it. So
yeah.
I'm cool with it. Like, I'm going to play through the campaign, and I think I'm going to tackle the zombies multiplayer because I've heard positive things about that so far.
Zombies mode is usually pretty good.
Yeah. So
it just gets a little wacky.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can maybe find a couple of guys to play that with, like some of the people I used to play with, and see if they're down for it. And get through that. Aside from that, I've been like playing small things here and there. Nothing really like big. My youngest has been on my Switch consistently now, so he's been like playing through Super Mario Odyssey and Super Smash and Mario Kart and everything that he can get his hands on. But he found this game I downloaded not too long ago I think it's called Lick Speed. It's like a German game or like a German developer. I don't know you know what? Hell, I got it. Switch.
I've not. Yeah, it's not something I've heard of.
Yeah, it was kind of random. Like I got it.
Was this on like the digital store?
Yeah, it's called Lickspear. LICHTSPEER, and it kind of reminds me of like an Angry Birds type thing. As far as like you're a guy, you're holding a spear and you're literally just tossing it through the level to try and defeat the boss, like to defeat whoever you're fighting at that point in time. It's actually a really fun game. Like, it's really solid. He kind of discovered, apparently I downloaded it at some point. I think it was a free game through like, I know there's a developer that did it last Christmas, and I think the year before that, where they had the 12 games of Christmas.
That. Yeah,
I downloaded all of them because I was like, even if I don't play these, it's cool to have.
They're in your account too, so
yeah, so you can always keep them. Yeah, so I downloaded a bunch of them, and I think that was one of them. And he jumped on it, and I was like, "This is actually pretty fun, dude." So I think I'm gonna try to play some of that randomly because he got kind of like he was playing it, then he kept dying, and so he got pissed off, and I understood. But yeah, solid game. So far, it's just been interesting. But yeah, that's all I've tackled this week. I haven't really gotten into too much.
I still have that. If we don't announce the damn Switch 2 by the end of the year, that I'll start playing some of these Switch games next year. So. I got I have my copy of Zelda sitting there, and I'd forgotten that I think it's next week that Brothership game comes out. And I don't know if I'll buy that right away because it's the kind of thing where like, is that game really going to go on sale? Probably not. It's a Nintendo game.
No, I mean it might go to like $50 occasionally.
I keep watching Luigi's Mansion 2 because I need it to complete having those, and my price is $40, and I've seen it hit $45.
Oh man.
And it's the kind of thing where I'm like, all right, if it hits and it's $45 on Black Friday, like I'll do it at that point. But
I feel like it's gonna go down. I feel like that either 45, maybe 40 max, because I feel like even last year, like anything Zelda based was like 40.
Yeah.
At the very bottom. So it's like, okay, well, I mean, that's the downfall with Switch games is if it's Nintendo based, it's not going to go down in price, and you just have to eventually eat the cost because you're like, if I want it, I'm going to pay for it. So
and that was the thing is like the beginning of October when I set up behind me the Switch and I was making sure that the Elgato and stuff still worked, and I threw on randomly Mario Wonder, and then realized like that game's awesome, and I did not intend to sit there and stream for like an hour and a half. It was just testing. And I streamed for like an hour and a half. And that's when I made that realization of like, all right, if we get to the end of the year and like we still haven't announced this stupid new Nintendo, like I guess I will just play these games. Because like that's the whole thing. I'm waiting because I know they're gonna play better on this new system. So
yeah, for sure.
I'd be shocked if it doesn't work that way. So
yeah.
But we'll see. I'm shocked that we got through the entire month of October and nothing was said. Like it's to the point now where I really think that they might not actually make an announcement until the spring.
You think it comes out in the spring? Like it just announce it and drop it?
They can't do it that fast. That's the thing. Like you have to have at least, if I go back to when they announced the original Switch to when it came out, it was 6 months.
Yeah.
And I feel like if, let's say it's January, I feel like then it's May, June.
Okay.
And they can do, and the thing about it is they can do it whenever they want. It doesn't matter. Like, it's not like Microsoft and Sony, they always like going in the fall because they like going during the holiday. Nintendo released that last system in March.
Yeah, they really don't give a shit.
They don't care because they know you're going to buy it. They could literally release it on Christmas Day. They don't care. Oh
yeah, like, no, they don't give a shit.
They know you'll line up at the store and buy it. So it's really hard to gauge like when, but I would move my prediction now. I think it's January is the announcement, and I think it's May. Well,
June. I mean, if you really think about it, like Switch fans buy the Switch. It doesn't matter. Like think about, in my head, I think about that guy. I think his name is Woods. He does a couple of Game Chasers. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I watch his stuff a lot, and like that dude has like every Switch made for the US. And in my head, I'm like,
gosh,
why? Like, there's not a. I'm sitting here debating on buying a PS5 versus a PS5 Pro or a Series X, and I'm like, I don't even want to do that. But then part of me is like, I need to do that, and I'm still like, what in my mind would make me want to buy another $300 system just because it has a different casing on it
or a different color? Yeah, exactly.
A different color scheme, like this Splatoon model and the it's just like I get it though.
I didn't even get an OLED. Like I still rock my shockingly, I still rock my launch day system.
Same.
I've never had a problem with it.
My controllers have stick drift, which I need to.
I never got the stick drift thing with the. I have switched out my nunchucks though because I went from the red, blue to yellow. But I've never had the stick drift. I did have a thing where in the case that I had at the time dropped, and when that happened, you know how it clicks in. One of the sides doesn't click in anymore, and it's not. And that's not a thing on the controller. That's on the actual unit, but. It is what it is. Most of the time, if I play a Switch game, I'm using those big grips anyways. Yeah. If it's handheld, so I don't care. And if I'm playing it on TV, I have a Pro controller. So
same here.
But like the system itself, it's never been like overheating or anything like that. Like it gets warm, but any system you have on for a while gets warm. But like it's never been, oh wow, this needs to be changed out.
Yeah, not at all. Like, and that's the thing too is I have my launch day Switch, and I still use it. Like it's good. It's fantastic.
The battery life, like I don't think the battery's really been like it's not horrible.
I mean, my youngest is on it. He's literally been on it for the past month. Like off and on, he will put his tablet in front of him and he'll have the Switch in like the tablet behind the Switch, and he'll be playing the Switch and watching his tablet simultaneously.
There you go.
And number one, I don't know how he does it because I can't do that anymore. Like my brain just doesn't have the concentration for it. But like, yeah, he's on it essentially all day, and the battery lasts probably from about like 10 in the morning when he comes home from school till about 8 p.m. at night, and it's finally dead. And he's like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Yeah, dude, you've gone the whole day with this thing. Like at this point in time, it's dead. We need to put it on the charger."
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think that's a bad battery anyway.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
It's better than a DualShock 5 or DualSense battery, that's for sure.
Oh god.
That thing, like I can play like an hour, like a 2 to 3 hour session of either like we played Outriders the other night, Dan and I, or play Silent Hill or something. And by the end of it, it's like it's time to charge this controller. And it's not an old controller. And I don't play like I use my Xbox more than my PlayStation. So just by the nature of owning two of them in two different rooms. So
I just don't understand. Like even the PS4 controllers die quicker than the Xbox controllers do. I don't
do
understand
the same
that.
thing. And I do the same thing with both these systems now, where I have the controller docks.
Yeah.
So
same.
You know, I with the Xbox right here, like I even have it right here.
Mm-hmm.
And these are my favorite ones, even though technically these colors don't they're not the same, but it isn't if you look close enough, but it actually works. So
yeah.
But I have that, like I bought that because that was that Phantom. You got like a special dynamic background. I don't know if you got that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I bought I have 3 of these because I have 2 out there and then 1 in here. And those things are solid. They're solid as hell. So compared to the DualSense,
it's wild, man. Like just the whole just the dynamic of those
I would have been more excited
crazy.
instead of the PS5 Pro if they announced, hey, we've doubled the battery life of the DualSense.
That probably would have sold more.
That would have sold me on a $5 increase on the controller.
That's bananas.
Instead of just, here's the same shit controller for $5 more.
No, man. And I think that's like, for me, that's what's leaning me away from buying a PS5 is just all of that crap. And
well, it's like I told you today, because you're in the spot now where it's like, okay, what realistically, you don't want to own both these systems.
I really don't.
And I don't blame you.
Not at all.
As someone who owns 2 of one and 1 of the other, and I don't use the one enough, I just use it for exclusive stuff, or if one of my friends wants to play a game there because they're not on the Xbox,
then
we'll play it there. But like I said to you, like it really comes down to, do you want a system where you can play Game Pass, or do you want a system that it does play everything, but you're going to have to buy those games? That's the thing.
Yeah, I know. And like for me, I think I want an Xbox Series X just because I think like we were talking about earlier, like I feel like Xbox has better deals on their digital games.
Yeah, like they tend to, and especially if you have Game Pass, then you tend to get an even better deal.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, well maybe I should just stick to them. But then like I told you beforehand, like right now my youngest is actively playing games, and every time we go to someone's house that has a PS5, he picks up Astrobot. Like it's instantaneously. He knows PS5 has Astrobot. I want to play Astrobot. And he jumps into it. And it's just
been crazy to see young kids cling to that like we would have clinged to Mario.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of like anybody in my group of friends that has young kids, they're super into that game.
And that's kind of like where I'm at. Like as a gamer dad, do I really want to say no to him because he's found something he really, and dude, he'll play that for hours. Like,
and they'll make another one.
Yeah. And so that's why part of me is like, man, maybe I just buy a PS. But then I feel bad. Like, I'm going to buy a PS5 for my 4-year-old. Like, what the hell? So I don't know. We'll debate on that.
It's a hard thing. Like, again, the other thing I would say is like, just see what the deals are on Black Friday. There always are deals.
Yeah.
I know last year the Series X got down to like $350.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping they do that today. Like this year too. If they do, like if I see one drop for $350, I'll definitely grab it because that's the machine I'd rather play. That's the machine I load up every single day without a heartbeat, just because I have all my game, like I have Game Pass and everything there. So I just play that totally. But if the Series X drops down low enough to where I can feel okay with buying it and buying a PS5, if like even if the PS5 goes down to like $440, I'd be fine with that. Like
I mean, hey, you don't need to get a PS5 Pro.
No, hell no. I went
so today when I was looking, I went on Amazon to look for something, and it popped up as like a recommended item because I was like, can you still just order one? Yeah,
you can, can't you? Yeah.
And you totally can. And so I just to see, I was like, I went to Walmart, I went to Target.com, I went to Best Buy. There's one other one I went to. Every single one of them, you can just order one
because
because it's $700. That's why. Like, there's no reason. I think people have realized like there will be a crowd, there will be people that buy it for sure, but it's not. Like it's too expensive.
It's too expensive. They can't
sell what it is.
I just don't see the appeal in owning something that can essentially do a little bit better than what the PS5 currently produces. Like you can't sell me. Like if you told me if you're about to hey, look, you're about to buy this 2024 Hyundai. But let me tell you what, the 2024 year-end model gets you 5% more gas mileage. Like, no, I'm not going to trade my car in just for 5. No, I'm okay. Like, it's not financially smart, and it's just not worth it. Like,
for me, it's like the games that they've shown, I've already played. I don't need to go back to them this fast. The one like there, and don't get me wrong, there are like two, like I think honestly, I think it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There was one other one's like you can tell the difference. Like between like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, if you put that game on performance mode on a PS5, it looks rough visually, and like on the PS5 Pro, like no, it's an insanely noticeable upgrade.
Yeah,
and like that's fine. I put almost 100 hours into that game earlier this year. I'm not ready to go back to that, like I'm not. And like then they show all the other stuff. Like I'm never gonna play Last of Us 2 again.
Yeah.
I don't need to play God of War 2 again. I don't need to play Horizon Forbidden West again. I'm probably not even going to play this. I think it just came out yesterday, the Horizon, the first one remaster.
Oh yeah.
So like, I'll probably do that $10 upgrade just to like pop the trophies that I already have, because you can do that and then be good. But I'm not going to actually sit there and spend the time to play it because it didn't need to happen. So.
I they feel like the PS5, right? The PS5 Pro is just such a cash grab. It's just I can't. I mean, yeah, if I know anybody that gets it, that's great for them. But there's nothing you're going to tell me that's going to make me.
The only thing I'm interested in, and because it's not out in the wild yet, so we're not going to know until it's out and people get their hands on it, is they have said time and time again that there are other benefits for like older PS4 games, but what are those? Like, that is the thing I'm interested in as someone who has a giant library, a lot of games that are sealed. That would be something that would incentivize me to open some of those games and play them.
Yeah,
but I need to know what it's doing.
What kind of enhancement are you going to do when you essentially sell the upgraded versions for like you said, for like exactly. $10-15? Like,
yeah,
at that point, you're telling me that's not worth it. Mm-hmm. Essentially, I don't know. Like, it's just hot. It's a ball of fucking hot garbage. Is all
it's awful. It's awful.
It's horrible.
We can kick over to news.
Yeah.
It's been it's been a news week. I don't think it's been. I just as I'm scrolling through, I'm like, was there anything that was like massive? Nah, not really. There are some things we'll talk about.
Yeah,
for sure. So we'll kick off the first one. So the Halo veteran Joseph Staten, who they brought back in to kind of get Infinite out the door. He left. He went over because remember Netflix was trying to push into games for a while. I think still you can play games on Netflix, like if you're playing on a tablet or something, from my understanding. But like, I don't think that really took off that much. Like, I don't hear about people playing games on Netflix.
Well, because the games that they offer are already like, they feel like mobile games, So essentially, like you can most people who are playing games already have all the games they're going to play on their phone.
Exactly.
I mean, I get it. With Netflix, you're not paying for them. Essentially, you're essentially renting them out. But it's still it's like, why am I playing through Netflix when I can play? I think the one game I did see, Shredder's Revenge, is on there. And it's like, I already own that for my Switch and my Xbox. Why would I play it on Netflix? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I get it. Like, yeah.
But I'm not surprised he left that. And the big question now, it's rumored, but is he going to come back now and rejoin Halo? I got to get used to saying Halo Studios.
Halo Studios.
Instead of 343, but like, will he come back? I don't think so. My response, I don't think so. I think he came back. He helped get Infinite out the door. I think he's done. And I think they really want to turn the page and do something different with Halo, especially at this point when you want to maybe try and get people excited about Halo, like people outside of me excited about Halo again, like it was, 15 years ago. Then I think you maybe don't bring someone like that back. You try to turn a new page, and it seems like what they're trying to do. So
yeah, you really need to. I just think Halo needs a revamp of something different right now, because it's just,
like it really seems like they're just gonna remake Halo 1, and that's the 20, and that's fine. But like I've said many times, like at this point, nuke this current storyline and just start over.
Yeah.
Like start over. You can still have Steve Downes as Master Chief. You can still bring back Cortana, but like just do something completely different with it.
Yeah, just step out the box. There's no harm.
Or it doesn't have to be Master Chief. Like the Halo universe is big enough that it doesn't have to be him. They've proven in multiple games you don't have to be playing as Master Chief.
Yeah.
So, and those games have been, except for Halo 5, those games have been fine. So
yeah, agreed.
So it'll be interesting. On the flip side of that, Guerrilla Studios, makers of Horizon now, have said the Killzone franchise is dead. It's not coming back. I don't think there's a small crowd of people that care, but I don't think a lot of people really care about this.
I don't ever remember playing Killzone. I know PS3 was a big one, but okay.
So, because the first one was billed as the Halo killer in 2004, 2005. I want to say it came out right around the time Halo 2 came out.
How did that go?
Remember, for years, every game coming out was like, oh, this will be the Halo killer. This will be the Halo killer. And then it just Call of Duty was the Halo killer.
Yeah, of course.
And then that has just been the killer for years. Still Fortnite.
Yeah, Fortnite.
But Call of Duty is still obviously extremely relevant. It's making, this last one is the biggest launch they've ever had. Still, somehow, in 2024, they have a launch bigger than they have. I don't know how it's possible. What they did, but Killzone, it's dead. I'm not surprised. I think if you go back to Killzone, and this is the difference between that and Horizon is such a better written thing.
Yeah,
and it has so much more of a personality to it. Killzone didn't really have a personality. It just was kind of a generic space shooter that didn't for me it never really clicked anywhere. I was like, oh, I can't wait to play the next one of these.
Yeah,
so which is why I never played the third one, and I never played Shadowfall, I think it was called, the last one that was on PS4. It was a launch title for PS4.
I think so too. I mean, ironically, I think I have all of those games because I've just gotten them in lots, but I have never played them because I've just never had
2 was the one that they famously lied about at that E3 that one year, where they showed that trailer and said, this is what it's going to look like on a PS3. And then it didn't look like that when it came out.
How did that go for you fellas?
Didn't go very well. So,
yeah.
Because everybody wanted to play it when they saw that E3 footage. They're like, hell yeah. And then it came out. It didn't deliver on that.
Hell no.
Metal Slug Tactics, which is a hotly anticipated game. Looks awesome.
Looks good.
Is actually out next week, Election Day, November 5th. It's on Game Pass. I didn't know this.
Mm-hmm.
So, because the bummer at first when it was like, okay, it's coming out digitally. I would probably like to get a physical copy of this. I know Dan, he's not here. He wants to get a physical copy of it. But then I saw it was on Game Pass. So I will totally check this out.
I'll definitely download it and see what it's about.
I've liked all the Metal Slug games, and I'm very interested to see it translate into this type of genre. Yeah. And it looks cool from the trailers they put out.
It'll be interesting to see what happens.
On my list of games that I need to play before I do Game of the Year stuff for the regular channel here is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. I have it. Bought it when it hit $20. It's still sealed. That team has been disbanded, unfortunately. The game wildly underperformed, which is unfortunate. It got rave reviews. And anybody I know that's played it really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it just didn't sell. So, we all know Ubisoft's had a terrible fucking year. So, but when I say they disbanded the team, it doesn't seem like they fired a lot of those people. They moved them to different projects. So some of them have gone on to work on whatever the next Ghost Recon is. They are apparently working on something with Rayman. It sounds like it might be a remake, which is fine.
Yeah.
They should probably bring that back. And then the one I snickered at was some of them have moved on to Beyond Good and Evil 2. Like, are you sure?
Why are we still talking about this game?
By being moved to Beyond Good and Evil 2, is that just them saying they were kicked to the door?
Is that punishment for the?
Is that like that? I don't think I put it in here. We talked about it last time we recorded. Is that like the thing that's going on in Japan right now, where they're taking the people and putting them in the punishment room?
Oh, God.
You heard about that, right?
Yeah, I heard
about it. Where they basically just are like, we don't have anything for you to do, and they just want the people to quit. Like, is that what Beyond Good and Evil 2 is? Just
Maybe
a room that they written on the door, like, just sit here for 8 hours.
Hope you enjoy your time.
I don't know, but yeah, it's a bummer that the team got disbanded. Like, I haven't played the game yet, but it does look really cool. So, I threw this in here just because I laughed about it all week. That they built better audio tech for Call of Duty Black Ops, but it's a feature in the game you have to pay $20 for.
Yeah, that's wild.
And I think it only works like with headphones. I don't think it's something. I mean, I would assume if you have like Dolby Atmos surround, it probably works if you crank it up. But like, how loud do you have to have that crank to hear footsteps? Probably pretty loud. So I just think it's wild that you're charging people $20 for a feature that's just in the game.
That's insane.
It's not like a DLC. Like it's being treated like a DLC, but I don't think it should be.
I just don't see how that's. I don't know. I guess that's just Call of Duty and how they want to play it. I don't know. It's so stupid.
There'll be people that do it. Those pro people that the pro players that are out there that are constantly playing with their, big. I can't think of the name of those. What are those? I keep wanting to say Atmos headsets, but not the.
Dude, you want to know what's so funny? Is like, so I have a pair of Astros, right? Like, okay. I got them for a friend of mine. She was selling them for super cheap, and she was like, I just don't use them anymore. And I was like, cool, not a problem. But then I keep seeing the people playing with these things, like these little El Cheapo things that I have in my head. And I'm like, they're like, oh my gosh, like, I hear footsteps everywhere. And I'm like, I don't really believe you that. I don't know. I feel like over the ear headphones where they can actually like silence out the out sounds just does so much better than
I did the earbud thing for many years younger, like when iPods first came out and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm the kind of person where like the earbud doesn't fit in my ear very well.
Same.
And I got to the point where like I just stopped caring about it and was like, if I'm going to listen to shit, I'm going to have over the ear headphones. I don't care.
Yeah. I agree.
I'd rather have a good listening experience than care about, wow, I've got an iPod, so.
Yeah. I need to get new headphones now, so that might be looking at something that I do on Black Friday because those ones that I bought, I need a new, I guess you could say the audio cable. I need to replace that.
Okay.
And I need to look into that. I might just have to go to the website and get replacement ones because every ones I bought everywhere else they haven't worked.
They haven't worked, yeah.
So
probably some little proprietary thing they have in there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That seems like totally a thing that company would do.
I mean, why wouldn't they? That makes sense, right?
Those things are so expensive, yeah. Like I would never pay the price those are because like I remember working when we were still working at GameStop. Those things were like $200-$300. Like they came with like the little wireless, and it wouldn't be like that today because that's not necessary now. But my bigger claim to fame was we had a kid that came in. The previous day he came in, he bought one of those PlayStation Gold headsets. You remember those?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And the next day came in and was like, I don't like this. I just want to trade it in. We don't really buy headsets.
Yeah.
But I told the kid, I'm like, I can take this in as just a generic headset, but it's going to be wildly low. I just want to get rid of it. And like, I want to say he got like $2.50 between $2.50 $5. And then I bought it because it was a stickered item. I was like, fuck it, I'll buy it. And I had a gold headset and I used that just for not for talking because it's a terrible mic for talking to people because it doesn't have an earpiece.
Yeah,
it's just an open, so it sounds like trash. But the actual experience with that application on the PS4 was amazing.
Was it?
Yeah, I used it. They would have special profiles you could download. Like if it was a big game, like Horizon had one. Even though I don't like The Last of Us Part 2, it did have one of those, and I used it for that. And the audio was incredible for that game. So that thing was really cool. And I paid like $12 for it. It's like $100.
Oh, well, damn. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that either.
So, but yeah, I've never bought into like those $300 Astros. Crazy. So, but if you got a good deal,
Yeah, I mean, I got a killer deal from him, and I needed just a new pair. My other headphones crashed on me, the ones I normally use to record. So I need to go buy a new pair of just regular plain basic headphones anyway. So
yeah. I had the article in here originally. I took it out because of what came out after it, but there was earlier this week somebody had pushed out an article saying that Microsoft was going to slow down the whole like, okay, we're going to put these games everywhere, initiative. And then it was revealed by Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft. No, we're not slowing that initiative down. Also, that guy made $30 million extra last year.
Jesus Christ.
Amidst all those layoffs. So
nice bonus for that dude.
Insane. Right? But again, like the thing that I think will happen, and Dan and I had talked about this a little bit. The thing I think will happen is you're not going to see a situation like Indiana Jones again. I think it's going to go back to the game has to have come out and then they can announce it because that was one of their biggest mistakes was, hey, here's this game people have been looking forward to for a while. It's not even out yet. It doesn't have a date. We're going to date it today, but also tell you at the same time that we're giving it a date on this platform. Oh, it's going to come to the competitor platform in 3 months.
Yeah, I think that was a bad idea. I mean,
and I think that was a mistake. They did it on their own stage too, which is insane.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Personally, for me, I would have never done that. I would have definitely just been like, it's coming out for our system on this day. Enjoy it, and then you could have another fucking informational release of it later on down the road if you really wanted to. But I mean, you didn't need to do that. It just made you look kind of bad in that aspect.
As far as that stuff goes, my predictions, at least, I think you'll see Avowed come to PlayStation. I think you will still. At some point they're going to put Starfield on PlayStation.
Oh, yeah,
there's no reason not to.
Yeah,
I think it really depends on is this DLC the end of it, or are they going to do another DLC? I think they're waiting to see. Okay, everything's out. Here you go.
That makes sense.
But I do believe the part of that rumor that says things like Halo and Gears might be off the table. That makes sense.
And it really should, because honestly, I get it. You want to be able to make money and kind of put yourself out there.
For sure.
But in the same aspect, do you really want to give, that'd be literally Coke just giving you the recipe. All right, guys, we've had this for a long, long time, but we're going to share the recipe with the world. Here you go. And it's okay, no thanks. I'm good. Why would I buy your product? I can get it elsewhere. So yeah, it's stupid.
It's wild. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, but again, I don't think they make a Indiana Jones mistake again. I think they're gonna stick to when the game is out, wait a month or two. Okay, now it's coming out on PlayStation or Nintendo, depending on, it might be Nintendo. So, but I think that's going forward. I think that's what it's gonna be. So, this one made me chuckle. Somehow, Marathon, developed by Bungie, still exists.
Oh my god, how?
Somehow, after everything that's happened with live service games, it is in the news. We'll talk. That was probably one of the bigger stories, and I guess I'll mention it now because it ties into this. The big thing was is Concord going to come back? Is it over? Whatever. They have shut down that studio this past week. It's over.
Yeah.
They're not going to bring Concord back. That studio has been completely shut down. Some of those people have been moved. A lot of them, as we predicted, probably going to move over to Bungie and work on Destiny stuff. Or this Marathon game. But again, that's my question. Is that the right decision? For them to keep coming out and saying, okay, well, this live service game massively failed so much to the point that we pulled it off shelves and are basically acting like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But your idea is to then keep pushing the live service initiative.
I think
it just doesn't make sense.
So for me, Concord wouldn't have failed if you didn't show me that fucking trailer. The trailer is what made me believe it was something completely different. And then you just went straight into the whatever it was. What is a 4-on-4 aspect of the thing? I don't even remember. But it's I legit I remember watching that trailer and I was like, man, this game looks really dope. The character, and then it went into that, and I was like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, it looked like a Guardians of the Galaxy type thing. And I was like, okay, I can see they're doing something with some characters. Maybe those will be interesting. Boom. Hero shooter.
Nope. Sorry, guys.
No,
you thought it was going to be something else? Not today. No. At that point, I think the downfall is it's you want to get people excited to play your game. That's totally cool. But then in the same aspect, you don't want don't put the trailer to make it look like something completely different when you know that's not what you're pushing out.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for those people who bought versions of Concord on eBay for $100, $150. Why would you?
That's what I was gonna ask. Did the price of that game go up now that they've announced that it's over? It will not come back.
Let me actually,
because obviously in this interim, it's kind of hovered at the price it was, but.
So it really is. It's pretty much. It looks like it's essentially stayed the same.
Yeah. It's just,
the only thing I can really see is there's one person who has a sealed version of Concord, but it's the Middle Eastern version, and they have it for $2,500.
Okay.
But I mean, and then there's a person who has it on eBay. They have the game, but they also have the controller that comes with it.
That's kind of cool.
So
I guess.
to be honest with you, like I would pay for. I mean, I wouldn't pay $325, but I would pay for that controller. That controller looks pretty cool, man.
That'd be a kind of thing I put in a case. I wouldn't use it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I wouldn't touch it or
it's
do
like
anything with it.
When I did the 20th anniversary DualShock.
Oh yeah,
was it 20th or 15th? Whatever they did for the DualShock 4, I think that would have been because we're hitting the 30th, right?
Yeah.
So that would have been the 20th anniversary. Yeah, I have that controller. It's still in the box. I would love to buy that 30th anniversary DualSense, but like that thing sold out everywhere, like the Astrobot controller, which was also cool. So, but it is what it is.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, that's a nice controller.
It's a cool controller. Yeah,
you can get it on eBay for like $250.
Wow. I feel bad for I mean, obviously there will be the scalpers for the anniversary system. Yeah. But I laugh at the scalpers that probably bought, PS5 Pros, tried to list them on eBay for like double the money, and it's like you can still just go buy one, dude.
Which is wild because like me and my wife were at the grocery store the other day at Sam's. And again, we were part of Hurricane Helene. We're still cleaning up like trees and shit like that.
Yeah.
But like we were driving home, like we were leaving the store, and there was a dude selling like chainsaws in the parking lot. And my wife was like, "Look at that dumbass who bought all those chainsaws and now he can't use them." And I was like, "Yeah, that makes perfect sense, actually. Because like." During that entire 2-week time where like there was no power and like nothing was happening, it was like you just couldn't get anything anywhere. Like it's wild exactly how and I get it, the scalper mentality, but then it's like in the same instance, like just be a decent person. Like
yeah. And I mean I would assume he's selling chainsaws because there were trees everywhere that were laying on the road. So
dude, like there
still have it?
I'll have to send you pics or videos, but there are literally trees all like they can't clean it up essentially because they're so big, so people are like consistently like cutting them down to try and make them smaller. But like in making everything smaller, the piles just keep getting bigger. Okay. And there's like, which is wild because there's one main highway in our town. It's called Walton Way. It's like a really popular road. That road is still at some points undrivable because of the trees that have come down. Like you literally have to drive in the middle of one of the, like you have to cut into the middle of the actual street in order to drive through part of it. And it's like, damn, like it's just crazy exactly how much damage happened here. But then it's even crazier that you would go to the store and buy all the chainsaws to try to like scalp chainsaw. Like it's just wild. Like
no, that is insane.
Yeah, it's insane. But I mean, I would pay for this DualSense, the 30th anniversary controller.
It looks awesome.
I mean, I love it. It looks nice. I mean, I know it'll die within 2 hours of using, but I mean,
I would do the same. I would put it on the shelf next to the one from the 20th and probably not use it. So that was my thing of like, if I can get one, I'll do it. But I'm not going to be upset if I can't because I'm technically not even going to play it. It's just going to sit there. So
I get it. Like I see the prestige in owning a 30th anniversary system, but then in the same instance, it's like the Switch, man. We just got done talking about this. Like,
well, I got to a point with those types of systems where I don't like getting those types of systems because if it dies, you're never going to get another one like that.
Not at all.
If you want to trade that system in or sell it to get the next thing, it's a unique thing. You're not going to get another one of those. So like the last one I did that for was the Halo 4 360, which I have boxed up.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. Like it's boxed up. If I do 360 stuff, I have multiple 360s. I just pull out one of the other ones.
Yeah.
And I use that. I don't use it anymore. But like I was so pushed when Arkham Knight came out. So many people pushed me to be like, you should get this PS4 Batman, Arkham Knight one that was like the gray one with the little. I wouldn't do it because I'm like, I know they're going to do something where I'm going to want to trade this in to get the next thing.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I did that for was and the reason I did is because I didn't have a 3DS XL yet, but I did it for the Zelda Link Between Worlds.
I could understand that.
I bought that one, and what happened was when they announced the new Nintendo 3DS XL, and I was like, damn, I want to get that, but I want to trade this one in, and I ended up not. I ended up just keeping the other one put in the box. It's on the shelf. So,
and that's what you really boil down to. Like when you buy these special editions, like
you're kind of locked in.
Yeah, you're stuck with it, and then it's like you said, you don't really want to play it to like utilize it, because then once it crashes, that's just it. Like think about it. People are selling these, just the pre-orders for this this system on eBay for like thousands, and it's like,
oh, I know, yeah.
It is just wild and
it's
insane.
Wild.
Yeah, I just can't.
Hey, if you want a regular PS5 Pro, you can just walk in and get one. That's what I laugh about.
I don't even want to think about that right now.
Next news article we have, I put this in here because I'm actually excited to check this out. I played a little bit of the original. Path of Exile 2 early access has been delayed just a little bit. So it was supposed to come out November 15th. It's been pushed to December 6th. So not
not too bad.
Yeah, not a huge thing. But that game continues to look pretty cool. I played a little bit of the original and I thought it was a good like alternative to not having a Diablo 4 at the time. So that'll be I don't know if I mentioned that too. At some point I did buy Vessel of Hatred. I have not looked at it yet.
Oh, you did buy it?
I did buy it, yeah.
Oh, that's right. I remember you telling me that.
I had some extra, I think I returned something to Amazon. I had some extra like credit or something. I was like, I'll just buy the Vessel of Hatred. I just haven't looked at it yet. Well, the one thing, it didn't click for me because I was like, okay, I bought it. And then I was like, all right, I'll install the PC version and I'll dick around with it on there.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it didn't click with me until later that game is on PC and you can move your save over, but it is not a Xbox Play Anywhere game. So if I wanted to play Vessel of Hatred, I would have to buy the DLC again for PC. I'm not going to do that. So I was like, okay, I'll have to play it on my Xbox, which is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with playing it there.
No.
But yeah, I forgot that it's not a Play Anywhere game.
Wild.
Something that will come up in the emails, because we got emails written in on this, and I don't know how much. We'll get into it more when we get to emails, but I don't know how much you're aware of what's going on with. How much do you know about Dragon Age: The Veilguard?
So honestly, I've never played a Dragon Age game.
Okay,
don't even follow near to it. But I read like I was looking through the document prior to starting, and I was like, I just saw that, and I saw some emails about it. I was like, let me try to Google this real quick. So I jumped on, and I watched a couple of videos on YouTube about it, and then I read a couple of different things on it. That's wild, man. Like,
it's wild what's going on with that game, but it's more wild that all of these critics like unanimously have given it like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. And it's exactly like we predicted a couple weeks ago, or at least I did when we talked about like this game will be the game of the year at the Game Awards. There's no question. And I knew before it even came out, they're going to do this because this is the tactic right now. We've seen all these different games fail this year for various different reasons.
Right.
And this one specifically, I think EA went the extra mile to push this narrative of, no, it's still the old Dragon Age you know and love. Look at all these reviews that they got. Because then what's funny is if you go on YouTube and you watch a couple of the YouTubers that have reviewed it ahead of it that were able to get review copies, they're not very positive on the game.
No, and that's what I was reading. Like I watched the people I watched about it. Like one guy was like, it's not a horrible game. He was like, it's just not. There's like nothing really like big to talk about.
Yeah,
and the other one I watched was talking about the fact that the writing was just done so poorly. Like it's not a good game. And
that's the biggest issue. That's probably the biggest downfall to me is you go back in the history of BioWare games, be it you've played something from this franchise, you played something from Mass Effect, even going back to like Knights of the Old Republic, that's the number one thing that they're known for is how well written these things are, the different variety of choices you can make. And when you look at some of the decisions in this game, it's kind of like you don't really make the choice. It's just like, okay, I'm either going to be nice guy or nice guy that acts more stern.
Yeah.
But where's the character that can be evil? Where's the character that, can be like
some changes,
can be a super dick, like what happened to that Renegade playthrough? It's just not even here. So, and we'll get more into that later when we go through the emails. But the thing here I thought was hilarious is this game came out. One of the biggest things that people have an issue with is the art style. It just doesn't look like the old Dragon Age. It looks like Fortnite, but worse. Yeah,
it doesn't
in some ways.
The video I saw of it, it just didn't look appealing.
It doesn't look appealing. There's something about it. Like when you look at it, you look at it and you just think like cartoony and like. Again, and I know like you've not played any Dragon Age games. I have played the other three. Like I think that original game, fantastic game. The sequel is not good. And the third one was okay. But the one thing that they had is that this is a dark fantasy game. There's some really fucked up things that happen in those games. It seems like they stripped all of that out of this one.
Nah.
And it retains like that the Marvel type of thing. Where it's like, oh, this bad guy's really evil, but let's make some jokes about it as we get to him. You know, that kind of writing, which is like, that's so tiresome in 2024. It doesn't need to be every single thing. But the biggest thing people complain about is the art style. So the people that are working on Mass Effect, the other game that this team is working on, have come out and say, no, we're not going to do that art style for the new Mass Effect. We're going to retain what Mass Effect looks like. So thankfully, at least we have confirmation of that. Oh, although, given everything that I've seen out of this game, I don't have high hopes for Mass Effect.
I mean, I have, what was it, that Mass Effect, I think, collection that popped off?
You talk about the recent, like, remasters?
I think so.
The Legendary Edition?
Yeah, I think that's the one I got.
You not ever played those?
No.
Those are some of the best games you can play.
I played the first one for like a little while. Like I download, like I found, I can't remember where I got it, but I got it for a little while. I don't want to say it was a rental, but I do want to say like someone let me borrow it for a little while.
Okay.
And I tried it out, and I got stuck at this one part, and I just kept dying, so I just turned it off and never went back to it. But I bought the Legendary Edition because I was at Walmart. It was like $10.
Yeah,
so I was like,
that was recent. Yeah,
well, shit, for $10, why not? Like, I mean, I was like, I might not get to it anytime soon, but I'll eventually get to it.
Yeah,
and why not?
No, Andromeda is not great. Like Andromeda, you don't have to play Andromeda. Well, let me put it that way. But Andromeda is not great, but it's not like, I think that Andromeda is probably a better game than this Dragon Age game. Let's put it that way.
That makes a little sense. Like, and that's what I've heard a lot of people say, like Andromeda wasn't really the best. I know, like, people say, what was it, like 1 and 2 were the best out of all of them?
So without spoiling the end and the reason why people have a problem with 3, without spoiling it, the reason people have an issue with 3 is the big thing about Mass Effect is it was like one of the first games where the choices you make in one carry to the next one. And they matter. Yeah. Different things can happen depending on what you made choices for. So when you try to wrap up a trilogy like that, there's not a good way to wrap that up with all these different choices. So what happens at the end is there's really only like 3 choices you can make at the very end on how the game's going to end. And a lot of people did not like that.
Just kill everybody.
Think about it, it's easy. Like, if you think about it, it's like, how else would you be able to do it, though?
Yeah.
So I never had a problem with the end of that game other than when it came out, it felt a little rushed. And so they did do like a free DLC that expands the end of the game.
Okay.
And that's just built into that Legendary version you have now. Like, that's the canonical like way it ends. But I never had a problem with it. I actually think the third game... I think the first game is my favorite because that's the most true like RPG experience.
Yeah.
The combat is the best in 3. Like, it is amazing. And the one thing that version doesn't have, and it kills me they didn't bring this back even as a DLC, it had an amazing co-op horde mode.
Okay.
That we played so much of. Like at that time, like so much. I have a buddy who dumped like $200 into microtransactions for that game. But amazing co-op experience that I wish they would have brought back for this. I understand why they didn't, but if you've never played Mass Effect, I highly recommend all 3 of them. Like, it's hard for me to pick one because they're all so good story wise, but the first one will always probably be my favorite.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, if I go back, like when it came out, I didn't care for it. Like I pre-ordered it. I knew it was coming out. It was going to be a big game that fall, and I was excited about it. And then I got it, and for whatever reason, I played 2 hours of it. It just didn't click.
Yeah.
And I put it on a shelf for like 2.5 years and was like, I don't care. And then when they announced the sequel and they started ramping up the promotions for that, and I'm like, wow, this actually looks really cool. That's when I took the time to go back, like the summer before that came out, and I just demolished that game.
That makes sense.
I was like, no, actually, I made a mistake here. This is actually a really good game. So,
well, I'm gonna definitely try to give it a shot.
You should. They're really well written. Yeah. But I feel like that's the biggest thing that's missing in Veilguard. But we'll get to Veilguard.
Yeah, for sure.
That other East game, I just got East 10 Nordic, so I'll begin to it at some point. But the other one, which is, I want to say it came out on the PSP. They're doing a remaster of it for PS4 and PS5. That got dated now for January 7th, which is pretty cool. It's like my other current Amazon pre-order right now. Hopefully,
I have one of those games. I need to I think I have one.
Do you know which one you have?
I'm looking at it now because I was like, I just remembered I remember getting it and I was like, oh, okay. Oh yeah. So I have Yeast 7 for the PSP.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was, like we talked about before, I really want to get into these games and I really want to just start jumping into them. But then part of me is like, I just know that there's a lot to it. And I'm like,
there is,
it's like
8 really was the one that clicked
intimidating.
For me, so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I think I stopped. But I really want to just get into them.
And I don't even remember if it was like a YouTube video or what I saw, because the first one I really played was 8.
Okay.
And then I just gave that one a chance and just it blew me away. So it was my favorite. I would say of that PS4 era, that was my favorite RPG. I played a lot of RPGs the PS4 era, so
that makes sense,
including Persona 5. So, but it's an amazing game, and whereas 9, I have tried a couple times to get into 9 for whatever reason. The story of that one it just doesn't click as much for me, so that's why I'm like, I think I'll just dump to 10 because it doesn't matter. That's a nice thing. It's the same 2 characters, but it's just they get plopped out of one story into another, and it's kind of they're travelers. So think of it okay, they traveled to this new land and now this stupid thing's happening. They get involved in.
Oh, so it's everywhere they go, bad shit happens.
Yeah.
Stop traveling, guys.
And they might make little references to other games, but it's such a small thing. Yeah. So that's why I feel I will go back at some point and really give East 9 a chance, but
shit. I mean, maybe I'll just go ahead and just grab this one then that's coming out and maybe just kind of jump into it there.
There you go. Nordics looks awesome. So
okay.
And then we have 2 news stories left. This one is kind of wild. The director who was working on the Wolverine game for PS5, which I don't know, maybe that comes out next fall. I don't know. He left that project and is now working on Perfect Dark. Completely just switched from one side, went to the other. Director of one game that's 2 years away to being the director of another game that's 2 years away. Super weird. We'll see what happens with it.
Yeah.
I just thought it was weird of okay, you spent probably a significant time working on Wolverine. So let's say, and we don't know because we haven't seen anything on Wolverine except for that one trailer. There was stuff that leaked. I never looked at it. Let's say that game's half done. It's a weird time to leave that project, right?
It really is.
So to go to Perfect Dark of all things, I mean, wonder how much money was offered.
Probably a good bit.
Microsoft's got the money, so
why not?
Then our final news story I threw in here. I thought this was a cool news story. Rod Ferguson, current head of the Coalition, and shared some stuff about Gears, the original idea for Gears 6 before they decided to pivot and do this prequel.
Okay.
And did you play Gears 5 or no?
Yeah, I actually haven't finished it.
Okay.
I need to go back and run through it, but
I will tiptoe around.
About it. I don't care. Yeah.
There is a decision at the end of that game where you basically decide between a character dying. So you have to decide between Phoenix's son or the other character. I can't think of his name right now.
Okay.
the African American character. I don't know why his name escapes me. Both their names escape me. Right? Was it JD Phoenix? Was that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can't remember the other guy's name. It started with like an A or something, but you basically choose, right? Like you choose which one of these guys is going to live. And so the plan, they were going to do kind of like they did with Gears 3. I don't know if you remember way back Gears 3, they had that marketing campaign where if you bought the avatar shirt for your Xbox 360 avatar, it would vote for if you wanted Carmine to live or die in the third game.
Okay, yeah.
And then everybody bought the Carmine Live shirt, so they actually left him to live in that game. They're going to do a similar type of thing for Gears 6.
Okay.
Let the audience decide which person was going to live, let them vote on it. And then the other plan was they were going to move away from the planet they're on, which is the planet Sarah, and discover some more of the galaxy in that, which would be interesting. You think about like Gears has never taken place on any other planet. It's always been on that planet Sarah. So, but they obviously pivoted. They're making this Gears E-Day, which I think is a smarter decision at this point because people want to see Marcus Phoenix. They want to see Dom.
He's essentially been the main character for a long time now.
I didn't dislike what they did with Gears 4 or 5, like story wise though. Like I liked moving it to his son and like everything they did made sense.
Yeah.
It was like for a lack of a better comparison, it was like what they did with The Force Awakens.
Yeah, it wasn't
not bad. Not bad in hindsight. So, and I would argue with the sequel, they actually went somewhere with it, unlike Last Jedi. So I don't know.
God,
but yeah, it's interesting. We'll see. Before we kick over to movies, I wanted to bring up really quick. We got a couple comments. I'm not going to bring up the comments, but I've read them. I think I commented on some of them regarding the analog 3D. We talked about it last week. Like, the analog 3D is coming out next year. It's not for any of us, like just because I'm not a 64 person. But I wanted to clarify because I've seen a couple comments where people are talking about like hacking this thing, doing a bunch of emulation, and I think there's been confusion because, and I don't know if maybe we just didn't communicate it well enough on the last episode of the podcast, but like that thing is a closed system.
Yeah,
you can't. There's like it'll have obviously it's going to have whatever their software they're putting into it, but that's not going to be that much. But it's not like the NES or the SNES they did where you can dump ROMs that you have on it, or you can put ROMs on it like with an SD card or something like that. Like you can get one of those Ever drives and you can do that, but that would just be 64 games. I guess you could do other games on that if you really want to, but then you get into like, think about that. Like, do you really want to play like a Super Nintendo game with a 64 controller? I don't.
Not at all. I don't think any part of that sounds exciting at all.
But I just wanted to address that because I've seen a couple people like talk about like, well, I can't wait till people hack this thing. It's like, that's not going to happen with this thing, man. Like
I understand we're in the day and age where everybody's hacking everything. I get that completely.
For sure.
But some things aren't meant to be hacked. And I think this is a scenario where this thing is just not meant to be.
I think that was probably part of, because I have to imagine, like, especially even though it's games that are 25, 30 years old, they have to get some sort of permission from Nintendo to make these systems.
You would think, like,
and I would think maybe when you get to this era, they care a little bit more than like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, because they do have that special tier of Nintendo Switch Online where you get access to 64 games, and you're starting to get into that territory where, like, yes, there are ROMs out there and stuff for this, but it's starting to get into that territory where there's not as much as there is for Super Nintendo, PlayStation, that kind of thing. So I don't know, but I just wanted to address it really quick because, like, I've seen people comment. I was like, I just want people to understand. Like, I hope you're not buying that thing expecting to do what you did with the Super Nintendo,
right?
Or the Nintendo, or even the Pocket. I think the Pocket you can do all that stuff on as well. We can switch over to movies though, because you and I have a lot to talk about when it comes to a certain franchise. But before, we'll save that for the last thing. So, I'll say just up front, we're going to talk about Terrifier.
Golly.
Because I have seen the first Terrifier now. You got to experience the latest Terrifier. And now that I've seen it, and we'll get to it here in a minute, but we have things to talk about when it comes to that franchise. And when Dan said he wasn't going to be here this week, I kind of said like, well, maybe that's not the worst thing because we can go hard on Terrifier.
Maybe.
So, because that's something he'll never watch. But before we get into that, I'll talk about the other stuff that I watched really quickly. I watched, and this will be controversial, I guess, to some people. I watched it because of the controversy, I'll be honest. But I don't know if you've heard of it or not. This movie that came out called Am I Racist? You've heard anything about it?
I saw you put it on the server, and I was questioning what it was, but I didn't check it out.
So the thing is, it's that Matt Walsh guy who's he's a controversial, like conservative political commentator, I guess is the right term. But as far as the political spectrum goes, like I'm so much in the dead fucking center that it doesn't like it's so insane. But I wanted to see this movie specifically because he tackles in a very, very humorous way DEI and DEI consultancies, and just basically comes to the point of it's all bullshit and we should get over it, kind of a thing where like it gets to the point where like he actually makes up, like, so he goes through it, he tries to learn more about it, and then people start realizing who he is. They don't want to deal with him because he's a right-wing commentator.
Okay.
So, and in some circles that it is what it is today. So he dons a pretty shitty disguise. I'd say I don't know who would be fooled by his disguise. Cause like, this is a dude that has a pretty, like he's got a pretty thick beard. Like you already know what the dude looks like if you've seen a picture of this guy. All he does for his disguise is he wears a wig with a man bun.
Yeah.
And his beard's a little bit bushier. Like that's it. And it's like, I don't know who was tricked by this, but whatever. So he creates kind of a different persona, and he actually creates his own DEI like presentation that he brings people in to.
So I clicked on this film.
It's fucking hilarious.
I'm looking it up, and I clicked on this picture. This disguise doesn't even look like a disguise. Like
no, right? Like that's the thing. I'm like, I don't know who was fooled by this. So because the whole cost of this movie was him paying to interview some of these DEI consultants. Like he actually paid for their fees, which are insane. I think the most expensive one was this woman who wrote this, I guess, what they consider the prolific book of this DEI stuff. $30,000 just to sit down with this woman for like a half hour. Like insane. But the best part of the movie, like I'll say, like it's one of those where like I went into it, I didn't know if it was going to be one of those where I'm going to be like roaring with laughter or anything. It's one of those where like I think it's well made. It definitely has a point to it. There was one part where I did laugh out loud very hard because it was just a sudden thing in that DI. Because like I said, he creates his own presentation and he brings people in that don't know who he is. Yeah. And he makes them start doing things that are just a little bit more ridiculous just to prove the point of like, this whole thing is kind of ridiculous, right? And it gets to a point where they're like sharing stories, and he has this meter on a whiteboard, and it's like from 1 to 10, how racist are you? And he has this one guy, it's like a 2, and they're going through and they're sharing like, what's the most racist joke you've heard? And this one guy says one, and he walks over and he takes the guy's number from like a 2, and he just slaps it on the 6, and he's like, "You've moved up in the rank," and then just walks away. I'm like, that made me laugh out loud. But it's not bad. It's worth watching. I think it has an interesting message to it, given, again, who's behind it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it, and it does a good job of making fun of that stuff in a way that I think it has gotten out of hand, obviously. So, and then you talked about it, I think, last time we recorded because you watched it. I watched See No Evil.
Yeah.
I hated See No Evil. So you watched, and Dan's not here, so we'll go full spoiler on it because it's been out for a month. I don't think anybody cares. If you don't want to know about See No Evil,
no,
you liked it, Matt. I hated it. Maybe watch it.
After you explain why you didn't like it, I understood why you didn't like it.
That's what I'll get into. So, like, I'll preface by saying, like, again, James McAvoy is a really fucking good actor. And he's very good at playing a crazy person. Just like Split, which I hated because it was a backwards sequel to Unbreakable, which I also don't like. That first hour of that movie is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
When he's playing the different personalities, insane. I think he should have at least been nominated for an Oscar for that. But this movie, he does just as good of a job playing this weird sociopath where he's on edge the whole entire
time. Yeah,
that's the only part of the movie like, because a lot of it is like, and I watched it with my girlfriend who at the time expressed that she wanted to see the movie and then tried to lie to me after and say, oh, I never wanted to see that. She hated it too. I'm like, no, you wanted to see it. It's in that cringe territory, but then my problem with it is like the family is an unlikable family. Okay.
Yeah.
Every single one of them, like each character is unlikable. The father is like I see these reviews. I watch reviews on YouTube and I hear all the time in different mediums. We talk about like some male characters in stories are becoming like pussified or like beta males. Yeah. His fucking husband, 100%. Like I've never watched a movie where I felt that way until I watched this one. Like 100% this dude. It's like I shook my head the entire time at him. The wife, she's just not a good person because of what happened there. And they reveal that like she was maybe going to have an affair, and I think she got like a dick pic or something from somebody, but then didn't go through with like it.
Just sexting.
Her husband found it.
Yeah.
And so like it gets into that great territory of what you do or do not consider cheating. I would consider that cheating, but so you know how the arguments go with that stuff. But already that makes her a massively unlikable character in this movie because of that. And then to top it off, you have this daughter who she's 12 years old in this movie. And my big issue with it is they want to write this daughter as like she's immature because she's attached to this stuffed animal. There's a big part of this movie where like she can't let go of this fucking stuffed animal. There's a couple points in this movie where like the family knows something is off with James McAvoy's family, and there are opportunities and there are times they get away. We're like, okay, we had an opportunity to get out of this situation. We're going to get the fuck out of here. And then that little girl's like, I left my stuffed animal there. Well, we got to go back for it. And my problem with that is like, you're going to show this girl being immature, but then they get to a point where and like, it's kind of movie where when you go into it, like, even if you didn't know the twist of the original, that James McAvoy is probably a serial killer.
Yeah.
He's doing something fucked up. I will admit, like, I did not know that the wife was in on it at that capacity. I thought that maybe she was like being held against her will, kind of like the son, the fake son that they have. The best character in the movie, by the way.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
The only one that had balls in the entire movie. But the problem I have is they go back because of this stuffed animal. They're having this conversation, and the other thing about the movie is like their son, James McAvoy, his wife, and they have a son who doesn't have a ton, and they try to explain like he was born with a defect, whatever. And the whole entire movie, this son is trying to tell these people, like, no, this is actually fucked up. Like, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
There's one point where he writes something, but it's in a completely different language. So they can't understand what he's saying. And then he eats it. Like, he eats the note. Like, that, again, those elements of the movie were fine. But when the little girl, he finally gets the little girl to go down into this like little basement of this farmhouse or whatever. And that's when it's revealed like, no, this is actually what this motherfucker does. He's killing all these families. And he's, he has little pictures. And what he does is he'll kill the family. He takes like the eldest child and then makes that their child until he's tired of that kid. And then they move on to the next family. He'll end up killing, but he cuts out their tongues so they can't talk. And the kid does a good job of explaining it, whatever. My problem is, so then when the girl goes back and she knows, hey, I got to get my parents away from this conversation to tell them what the fuck's going on here. You have to tell me she's mature. She's not mature enough to let go of a stuffed animal, but she's mature enough to know what a period is and fake it, is where I lost the entire movie. So I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. How is this possible?
So I can see what your viewpoint is on that.
Yeah.
But I guess as me, the fact that I do have kids.
Yeah, I don't. So
and that's where it differs because as much as like I get where you're coming from, I literally I broke my son's tablet like a week ago.
Okay.
I was giving him a bath, and I always put his tablet up on the wall so he can like watch it, and I can give him a bath fine. And it literally fell in the tub. And I was like, well, fuck. Okay, not a big deal. Like, I told him it was broken. I had to deal with the consequences of that evening. And the next day, I went and bought a brand new one from Walmart. I was like, fuck it. Let's just get him a new one. We don't have to worry about this. Because the other one just wasn't working. He literally argued me because it was not the same tablet. To the point where I returned that one back to Walmart, let him deal with the defective one, and I had to go on eBay and buy a brand new one
of that specific version.
And that tablet is like 4 or 5 years old, bro. So like it's old. And like, so thankfully I found a couple of them on eBay for like $20, which is great for me. But it's like, I literally had to buy another one and put it in the case and download the games he had on it. So the stuffed animal thing didn't really bother me because like even my oldest son has a blanket that he takes a lot of places with him because it's his baby blanket. Yeah. And like my wife was just telling me the other day, she was like, we should find a replacement one just in case anything ever happens to that one. Yeah. And I was telling her it's not going to be the same, but she was like, but still it'll be the same type of blanket. It's just not going to have the same meaning behind it. And so like, I get where that was coming from. I do think it was dumb, especially knowing the situation and what was happening. Like I would have been like, you know what? I don't need it. Like we can move on. Like we'll figure it out.
But then like when it ramps to, so like then it's found out and it ramps to like what should be the most tension filled part of that movie, which is like the last 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. It just, for me, it became a comedy of errors.
No,
like,
and
I'm going to try and do this, but look, I have this Molotov cocktail. I throw it out the window to try and hit something above me, but then it blows up a car. You know, that kind of stuff where I'm like, this is just silly now. I was at the point where I was actually rooting for them to die.
I guess for me, McAvoy stood out so much that he just made the film.
He's very good in it. Yeah. Like
and that's why he's very good. Like, a lot of what you're saying, I ignored. But like as soon as you started saying it, I was like,
the little boy was good though.
Yeah, I guess I get exactly where you're going with that and saying that.
So yeah, I was disappointed by it. Yeah. I did not care. I think I gave it a 4.
I may need to watch the original then and kind of go from there.
Yeah, I probably should, because I know the ending of the original, from what I've read, is a little bit different. So just a hair.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about the other 2 things you watched, and then we can terrify it up.
Oh God. So I went ahead and I jumped into watching this movie called Drive Away Dolls. Came out this year.
Yeah, I have a buddy who watched it, so I'm a little familiar with it.
Well, I didn't know who was in it because I haven't seen anything of it, and so I ignored it. But I've recently been on TikTok, and this girl, Margaret Qualley,
she's in that I have Substance. It too. It's a Substance, yeah, which I hear is really fucked up.
I want to watch it too. I need to watch. I started it. I got like 15, 20 minutes into it, and I haven't finished it.
I know all about it, and I know what happens. I have not watched it yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to watch it this week. But I realized like she was doing an interview on Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay.
And was it Jimmy Kimmel or was it Jimmy Fallon? I can't remember, one of those two.
Too many Jimmys.
Know. Yeah, there's too many Jimmys. But I didn't know her mom was Andie MacDowell.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, dope. And so I went ahead and I popped this in because I wanted to watch it just to see what she's like. So it's a comedy crime type thing.
Yeah.
So the basis of it is these 2 girls. They're both lesbians. The main girl, Margaret, I forgot, or Jamie is her name in the movie. She gets in trouble, breaks up with her girlfriend. Her best friend is Marion. Her name is Geraldine Viswanathan, I think. She's okay. I don't know what her background is, but I've seen her in other things. They're both like best friends, so she's gonna go visit her aunt that lives in Florida, and Margaret's character decides to go with her because she's like, I don't have anything here anymore, so I just want to come. So they end up using a program where they drive, like they rent the car, but they just drive it to this location and they have to like drop it off. And
Okay.
I don't know what it is. Essentially, it's like Uber, but you just drive it there and you leave it and you don't have to worry about it. And
I've heard of those.
Yeah, come to find out, in the back of the car is like, this suitcase that has this thing in it, and you don't know exactly what it is. You're just trying to figure that out. But these mobsters are essentially looking for this case because they're trying to get it back. And then the weird twist of things is it ends up being a plaster molding of a senator's penis.
Okay.
And he's trying his hardest to get it back so that nobody else knows about it, which is kind of like, you would never know whose it is unless you blatantly put it out there.
Yeah.
But the whole movie, it's not bad. It's not horrible. I will say I enjoyed it. Margaret Qualley does, I guess for me, does a really loud Southern accent. Okay. And by loud, I mean, it's not like super annoying, but it's kind of over the top.
So it's probably kind of like I can't think of the actress's name, but the main actress that was in that Bike Riders movie does a Chicago accent, but it is like really over the top. Or like, I didn't hate it, but I definitely noticed that it's overblown.
And don't get me wrong,
as someone who lives in the area.
As someone who lives in the South, I've heard worse accents, from people who live in the country. So it's not like it's a bad idea, but it's just like listening to her just kind of seems over the top. So again, it's not nothing horrible. Like, I didn't hate it, but I was kind of like, that seems a little unrealistic. All in all, the movie, it was pretty funny. It had its good moments, and I would probably give it like a 6. Something that you should definitely check out, but nothing like you need to watch. It's not going to be on anybody's list this year. I can definitely tell you that. The next one I got into was this movie called Brothers. It's got the one
with
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage and
Brendan Fraser and
Brendan Fraser in it.
Yeah,
the dude that played Thanos. I don't know why I can't think of his name.
Josh Brolin.
Okay.
There you go. Essentially, it is another crime comedy, I guess you could say. Josh Brolin and Peter Dinklage are twins.
So it's kind of like twins, right?
Danny
DeVito, aren't? Yeah.
So they're twins. And what happens is their mom leaves them in the very beginning of the movie. She did like a heist of some sort, and she just out and bounces. Because she's getting followed by the cops, so they have to go. So they end up pretty much living a beginning life of crime. And as they get older, they do this one job, and Peter gets caught. And so Josh Brolin decides to go clean, says forget that, goes to work a normal job. Peter gets out and pretty much brings him right back into the lifestyle. Brendan Fraser's character is a security guard in the prison who knows about Peter's last heist, or knows who Peter's mom is and what her last heist was. So he wants that. He wants what she stole back. Because he knows he can make money off of it. So essentially, the whole movie is him chasing him down to try to figure out what's happening. It's not bad. It's pretty funny. It's got its good moments, its bad moments. It's kind of like I would definitely give it a 6 too. Not anything that I think you need to die or see, but if you're ever like just
it seems like it's in that category of movies that probably would have made it into theaters a decade ago, but now are just streaming. I hate to use the word streaming fodder, but that's what I would consider it.
Yeah, and that's really what it is.
You don't hate that you watched it, but you're not going to remember it.
Yeah, I don't hate that I watched it at all, but I'm not going to go out of my way to rewatch that movie again.
Yeah.
Like if it was on, like if I was on TBS at like 11 o'clock at night and it was on, I would probably watch it because it was on. But I'm not going to do it again. But all in all, it was not bad. Not bad, not horrible. And then on to the big thing.
We can get on to the big thing. So Terrifier. Terrifier has taken over my house. My girlfriend is enamored with Art the Clown. Last weekend, I had to go to Spirit Halloween, where she could not find she found one item from that movie. It's like a knife with his face on it. She bought that just because it was an item with this fucking clown on it. And I ended up just going on, like, because I felt bad. I went online. I bought her. We have it now. I bought her a blanket with him on it and a little plushie of him that I don't think it looks great, but I don't know. She's happy
about it. That's all that matters.
I don't think it looks great considering the character, but it's kind of hard to make a plushie of a character whose whole thing is making facial expressions. So, but she's been bothering me all month about, like, she obviously learned of it through the memes and was like, what is this? I want to watch this movie. And I told her, I'm like, I don't think you're going to understand what this is. Like, I don't think you know what this is going to be. It's not what you think it's going to be, kind of a thing. Not knowing that she would actually, come to love that. I mean, she also, I should preface, she's a vet tech, so she sees that kind of stuff all the time. So gore isn't something that's really going to bother her. But she kept bothering me and bothering me about, like, I really want you to watch the first one. I just want you to watch this first Terrifier to see what it's all about. And if you don't like any of the other, if you don't like the movie, I won't make you watch the other ones. And keep in mind, she's only seen the first Terrifier. She hasn't seen, she has not seen Terrifier 2. Obviously, she has not seen Terrifier 3 yet. She's only seen the first one. So our agreement on the Terrifier thing was, I'll sit down, I'll watch the first one with you. I'm not agreeing to watch the other ones. I'll watch the first one to see what this is about. And my big thing was, like, I know everything about it. I know every single gory detail about each of these movies. I know about the hacksaw thing going in. I wasn't sure what to expect because of that. I didn't hate it, but I don't love it either. Like, that's the thing. Like, I can't say I had a bad time watching it because I think there are some good elements to, at least, and I'm only going to talk about the first one because it's the only one I've seen.
Yeah.
I like how it was filmed. I like that it's a throwback to 80s slashers. I think the character of Art the Clown is fantastic, and the guy playing him is fantastic. But I feel like, and again, this is without seeing the other two, so I don't know what's evolved as far as the story that's being weaved through these movies. But, like, just from watching the first one, I feel like he's a character that deserves a better movie than what he's being given. That being said, like, the gore, like, I didn't know what to expect. And the first scene where he kills these people in a pizzeria, the minute he slapped his axe down on this dude's fingers and his hand exploded, I laughed because it was comical. Like, I didn't know what to expect. And I equate that to the 2018 Halloween where Michael Myers steps on that dude's head and it explodes, where I literally laughed in the theater because I was like, this is the most fucking insane thing. And it's that level, I guess. And like I said, I haven't seen the other two, but, like, it's that level. With all that being said, I shut my eyes during the hacksaw scene just because that is the point where I think it's going a little too far. Where I'm just like, you're starting to get in. My girlfriend and I actually had a conversation about this before watching it because she kept asking me, like, I don't understand why you're so hesitant to watch this. You love all these horror things. I explained to her, I'm like, because when it goes from, like, slasher to the torture porn level, which I equate to, like, Hostel or there's one other one I always like to throw in that category. Hostel would be the big one. Like, I hated that movie because there was no joy. There's no joy. You lose the joy of the fun of the slasher, and especially the movie Hostel, where it's like you can't root for the bad guy. They're rich assholes that are literally paying to kill people for fun.
Yeah.
There's no pleasure in that movie. Like, it's all trash.
I can understand that. Yeah.
So, whereas here, like, it's still a slasher character, but I just feel like, and it's not like, I'm not like one of those people like, oh, the gore is too much. Like, I can't handle it. I'm going to pass. I'm not one of those pass out people. Whereas, like, if I go and have my blood drawn, I can't look at it. That's a little bit different. I will pass out there. But watching this, like, no, And obviously after the hacksaw scene's done, you see that body a couple times. It's comical. But I didn't hate it. Like there's certain parts about it. Like I knew about the other scene that I'll bring up. Like I knew about the whole, there's one woman where like he skins her a little bit and wears like her chest and her scalp. And you read that and you go like, that sounds really fucked up. And then you see it and it's just laughable. Because it's like, it's one of those, like, there were a couple times I watched a movie, I'm like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yep.
Like the whole scene where the main character lady is running through that warehouse and then she runs into this woman who has like a little like doll that she's pretending to be a real child.
Yeah.
Was my first moment like, what the fuck am I watching right now? Like, what is this movie? Like, what is going on? But I didn't hate it, but I'm like, I don't feel any desire to watch the other two. I'm just like, it's fine. I get it. I like these memes. I think the dude's fantastic. That dude's been out there saying he wants to play the new Joker. Let him do it. I think he'd be good. But I am not going to go further with the series. I'm just going to live through the memes and laugh at this stupid blanket I have in my house now. So with all of that being said, you have watched Terrifier 3. You've now seen all 3 Terrifier movies.
I have seen all 3 of them.
Has your opinion changed on the franchise after seeing the latest entry?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this, and I had to sit down and think about this.
And you can spoil it. I don't care. So
I will say the benefit of Terrifier 3 is it picks up after Terrifier 2. And the reason I'll say that is because Terrifier 3 at least has some story.
Okay.
The ending of Terrifier 2 makes the story of Terrifier 3. Okay. So I wasn't necessarily completely mad at this movie because the first 2 movies I was pissed because there was no story. It was just Art walking around killing people. And I will go on to say that the guy who plays Art,
he's fantastic.
He does so well. And he doesn't talk and he just makes facial expressions. And that's pretty crazy for me to compliment the character of a movie and hate the movie. Because the first 2 were just bad. And the gore, like gore doesn't necessarily bother me. Like I don't mind it. Because
does it look any more realistic in the newer ones than the original? Okay.
No, not at all. And I will say, so the gore level is still the same in this one. I know people were saying like there was this big campaign online where people were walking out of it because the first scene is just so gory they just couldn't take it.
Yeah, I feel like they did that with the last one though. Like,
they did it with all of these, I feel like, because they know that's just what they're doing and they're just taking people's, their shock. It essentially is just shock value gore. So in the opening of this, Art the Clown is in a Santa outfit, and this family, it's a young girl, older male, older boy, mom and a dad.
Okay.
Well, the younger girl, she's like talking to her mom. Her mom's like, of course, if you don't go to bed, Santa's not going to come.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So she goes to bed. She hears something downstairs. She walks downstairs. Art the Clown's downstairs. So she sees him and he turns around. She knows he's not Santa. So she kind of like timidly moves back into hiding. Art essentially kills her whole family. Okay. Which is fine. Doesn't bother me. He axes everybody to death. And it's just over the top gore. Like it's not even like it's done cleverly. It's just like.
Is that the scene that has the rats?
No.
Okay, that's later.
The rat scene is like one of the last scenes in the movie.
Okay.
So I will say there is one scene in this movie that kind of made me raise my eyebrows, and it wasn't like in a bad way. Okay, it was more like that felt unnecessary. Okay, and I will say so since you haven't watched the second one, and I can't remember what happened to her, but there's a girl from the second one that I want to say like she gets like something's done with her face, like her face is
okay. So it's the girl from the first one. So it's the girl that survived.
Yes.
And got her face got fucked up by Art at the end because he was literally eating her face.
That's what it was.
But it's like you don't really see it.
Right. So
But yeah, so her face is all fucked up. And she was not really in the second movie, from my understanding.
She wasn't.
She's in the third movie. So my understanding is like he gets decapitated in the second one or something. Something happens to him, and then this character births his head or something.
So at the end of the second one, the main character essentially chops his head off with the use of a sword, like a magical sword.
Okay.
And so you know, of course, that's what happens. So in the third one, you get that opening scene where Art kills that entire family, and then it goes into the movie, which doesn't entirely make sense.
I mean, it makes sense to the point of they just wanted to have that opening to shock value.
So in this one, a cop is called to the scene. He goes down and he sees Art's body. So he's like, you know, kind of like looking around to see what's up, turns around, the body's gone. That's how this one starts off. Art essentially kills him. Art's headless, but he still kills this guy. And then essentially takes the cop's head and puts it on his body.
Okay.
And so he's literally walking around with this cop's head on his body.
Awesome.
So Art ends up going to the psychiatric ward where that girl from the first movie is.
Yeah. Okay.
She in this movie, the way and this is why I say this one's not as bad. In this movie, they explain why Art kind of like has an attachment to this lady.
Okay.
Essentially, she is like a vessel for a demon.
Okay.
And Art, I'm not going to say Art is the demon, because the demon kind of inhabits her body. But Art is like essentially like, I feel like Art is like her security.
Well, let me ask, because Art doesn't speak, how is it explained? Because he's a character that doesn't talk. So
the girl from the second movie is the main character in this one.
Mm.
She essentially explains it when she's talking to her younger brother, because since her and him lived through the second one, they both like, she's gone to a psychiatric ward where she's like on medicine. Her brother's trying to forget everything that ever happened.
Yeah.
And so she's like, you know, she's like getting hallucinations for where she sees, or she thinks she sees Art or like her friends and stuff like that. And they essentially explain it in their first interaction with each other. So it's interesting. Like I said, that's why I say this one wasn't as bad. There was a story, there's a plot, there's an idea.
They're starting to flesh things out a little bit.
And they execute it really well in this one.
Okay.
The gore I think for me, that's what it is. It's just the gore, and it's not good gore. And so that's what throws me off. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's just really stupid in some of the kills. Yeah. But some of the kills are pretty intense, I will tell you that. The one part where I'm talking about, which seemed unnecessary, was at one point, because of Art doing the killing, the girl is essentially pleasuring herself.
Oh, is it the glass thing?
With a piece of glass.
Yeah, I read something about that, and that seems unnecessary.
It was. Yeah. I got why it went over. Like, I understood I get why they did it, but then part of me was just like, why? Like, it wasn't necessarily. I think it's just for the shock value, because is that in the opening scene, right? No, that's in like the.
Oh, it's later. Okay,
that's like 65% into the movie.
Okay, I think like they just do that for shock value.
And I agree. That's the only reason, because it really didn't make even Art. Like, after he ends up killing the guy and he looks at her and he sees what she's doing, he goes. and part of me was like, I agree with you. Fuck, that was a little weird.
Yeah.
But I'll die on a hill by saying the guy who plays Art the Clown does a fantastic job. The third movie out of all three was probably the better movie.
Okay.
Just because there's a story, and I followed the story well. The kills made sense.
Okay.
the kills were over the top, of course, but
Okay.
I guess when you're coming from like 80s slashers where literally they don't get too intense. Like I remember growing up, the most intense killing I remember seeing was what, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, I think it was, in the insane asylum.
Okay.
When Freddy pulls that girl's veins out of her fucking hand.
Yeah,
and
no,
like
I just watched all those, and like that was the thing I thought about when he's using them as like a puppet and controlling. Like it's fucked up. Yeah,
that was probably as a kid. That's the kill that stood out the most in all of those movies I've ever seen. But like when I watch something like the Terrifier, nothing on any of these kills stands out. It's just like,
it's just
how can we
noise.
decimate this body to the point where people are like, how can what can I do to make someone just turn their head? That's essentially what they're doing in every kill. I will say the rat scene you're talking about was pretty wild.
Okay.
But not really horrible. Like
more laughable.
Bad. More laughable. It's so much of the killing was just kind of stupid and unnecessary.
So explain to me, because I mean, at this point we've spoiled the movie, and I don't.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
And like, I'll put a spoiler tag on it. But how, like, from what I've read, like how fucking crazy is the end of the movie? Because from what I understand, like somehow a portal to hell opens up and he gets sucked into it. Like,
so let me explain to you what happens.
Okay.
So the girl, her name is Sienna. She gets picked up to live with her aunt, her uncle, and her cousin.
Okay.
The little girl. And so throughout this whole movie, she's with them and she's, going through things. Well, at one point, Sienna starts to lose her shit because Art ends up killing in the mall where she was, and she blatantly sees a vision of she swears she sees him, but nobody else saw him. So she, people are assuming, well, she's just off her meds. Like she needs to take her meds and lay down.
Did he like blow up part of the mall or something?
Yeah, he blew up the mall. Essentially, he blew up the line where kids were waiting for Santa.
Okay.
It was pretty crazy. But that was probably the most contained kill in the entire movie.
Okay.
Which is wild to think that a bombing was the most contained kill in a movie.
Yeah.
But what happens is Sienna starts to freak out. She's telling her uncle, you need to go get my brother. We all need to be in the same area. Blah, 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 blah. So her uncle goes to pick him up. And then Art essentially kills her uncle and her brother, Sienna's brother.
Okay.
Art then ends up going to her house and knocking her out, tying her to a chair. He ties her aunt to a chair where they're kind of sitting together.
Yeah.
And that's where the scene kind of picks up. The rat scene happens to her aunt where Art essentially shoves a pipe down her mouth and throws rats in there and they essentially eat her. What happens after that is the little girl, Gabby, her cousin, found the magical sword that Sienna found and brought back home from the second movie. So she ends up helping Sienna get that while Art and the girl, the deranged girl, are like, where she's like explaining to Sienna what she's going to do and the fact that she's, going to take over Sienna's body and blah, blah, blah. It goes from like her to now a possession type movie.
Okay.
And so Sienna ends up getting the sword. She ends up killing the girl.
The disfigured girl.
The disfigured girl. So while the disfigured girl is essentially the demon, as her body is like bleeding out and like degrading, it's essentially like leaking into the ground.
Okay.
And so that's how the portal opens up.
Okay.
So the girl...
Does it look cool or does it just look like everything else in the movie? Like,
It looks like a portal. Like,
Okay.
there's really nothing crazy about it. Like once it opens up, you see like the red light pop out, and there's like screaming coming from it. And so essentially, what happens is the girl Gabby falls into the portal.
Okay.
And so Sienna tries to rescue her, and which is really weird. It takes this really weird turn because then. So Sienna tries to save Gabby, but all she has to try to grab Gabby is the sword. So Sienna grabs the blade of the sword and hands Gabby the handle part to try and yank her up. But of course, no offense, you're holding a blade, so there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
And essentially, the blade just falls through Sienna's hand, slices her hand open, and Gabby falls through this portal. Once Gabby is in the portal, Art the clown is like stabbed onto the wall with the sword at one point. And so he's stuck on the wall. She thinks he's still on the wall because she's focused on trying to grab Gabby.
Yeah.
Gabby falls through the portal. The sword goes through the portal with Gabby. The portal closes.
Okay.
She turns around. Art the clown is gone out the window.
Okay.
And she looks at her hands, and her hands essentially heal.
Okay.
So, like, Sienna is now a superhero at some point in this movie.
So she has some sort of supernatural ability, basically.
And the disfigured girl even says that because at one point she grabs her by the throat and she's trying to take her over, and Sienna is like powerful enough to stop it. And so she goes, and one of the parts of the dialogue is she's like, "I see why they chose you because you really are strong." And so you kind of like get the idea that Sienna is actually like really powerful, but you don't know to what extent. So that's what happens in that portal scene.
And that's interesting though. Like that it actually has something going on.
And that's why I'm saying, like, I will say this: Terrifier 3 out of the first two is the better movie out of the two. I feel like you could literally probably watch the last 15 minutes of Terrifier 2 and then jump into Terrifier 3 and feel like you know what happened in the franchise.
Okay.
Because essentially that's the best part. And then Art the Clown, after that whole scene happens, Sienna's like, "I'm going to find you, Gabby, don't worry." So, essentially now Sienna's going to look for Gabby, and essentially I think what she's going to have to do is track down Art to get to Gabby.
Yeah.
So Terrifier 4 is coming. I don't know what's going to happen.
This movie, I think I checked today. It's up to 60 million. It's made.
I'm stuck in this fucking franchise, and I'm gonna have to watch the fourth one just to see if it's as good as the third one.
You're in the American Horror Story situation I was in, man. Like every season, you're like, I'm done. I'm not gonna do it, and then they come out and you're like, here's this new premise where you're like, that actually sounds pretty cool. Maybe this will be the one. No.
And listen, I did the same thing with that Winnie the Pooh movie. I watched the first one and I was like, that movie was fucking trash. And then I watched the second one and I was like, that was a pretty fucking solid movie. Yeah. I will say that, so the ending of Terrifier 3, Art the Clown gets on a bus. And that's just it. Like, he's on the bus, he honks the horn, the movie ends. So I don't know what's going to happen in the fourth movie.
What about?
I will say,
what about the chainsaw kill? Is that like? Was that the one that people like? Obviously, they did what they did at the beginning of the movie. And they'll do this. They're going to do the same thing for the next one, right? Like the next one, they'll do some over the top thing for the beginning to get that same, like, people are walking out.
The same effect. So the chainsaw kill wasn't too bad. Essentially, what happens is, it's a college girl and boy. So the boy is actually the roommate of Jonathan, Sienna's brother.
Okay.
And he is actually dating, which is crazy. He's dating a girl who runs a murder podcast and knows who Sienna and Jonathan are because she's followed the story and she's trying to get Jonathan to be on the podcast.
Interesting.
So they end up having sex in like the shower. Art finds them. And essentially,
that seems like a typical slasher, though.
Typical slasher. Yeah. Why not be in the bathroom? Yeah. But Art essentially finds them. He crashes open the glass door, chainsaws part of him, like his hand, his like his leg, and then the dude kind of falls out of the shower and starts trying to crawl away, and then the girl. So Art doesn't use the chainsaw on her in the way that you would think he uses on her. He's literally hitting her with the blade of the chainsaw, like
just like slapping her with it. Yeah, that's
and so when she's essentially dying, half of her face is missing.
Okay,
and then he turns to the guy and essentially chainsaws from the guy's asshole up.
Okay, so kind of reverse of what happened in the first movie, except he's using a chainsaw.
Yeah. Okay. So, all in all, I mean, it was a cool looking kill, and that's the thing about it. Like, even though the gore is kind of over the top, some of the kills they do are actually not bad.
Well, like I go back to that that movie that came out earlier this year, the one that we kind of say, I was gonna say the one we kind of say is a Friday the 13th ripoff, because like there were a lot of kills in that movie that were kind of like whatever, but there was that one with the spine.
That was my favorite. Like, if I could label
fucking crazy
best kill of the year, that's going to be the best.
And that's the thing is like that's the level I was expecting out of Terrifier, because I was like, okay, that was pretty fucked up. And like, no, it's just like this dude's hand exploded. I'm just like, no. What the fuck?
And see, and that's the difference, because I feel like In a Violent Nature did gore pleasantly.
Yeah.
Like, it was effective, but it wasn't over the top. You knew it was
coming, though, too.
Yeah. Like, I saw, like, and I told you I said, you're going to watch that movie and there's going to be one kill that's going to stand out. That kill is going to stand out because it was intense. Like, but it wasn't like bad. It was like the blood wasn't over the top. The intestines weren't over the. It was like one of those things where part of me was like, yeah, I could see that happening. Like, you know what I mean? So I think, like I said, none of these kills in the Terrifier movies are memorable. Like, I can't remember one that stands out to me that I was like, oh my God, that was like the coolest kill, because I just feel like they're all kind of like
so over the top. They just bleed into the same thing.
They really do. They bleed into the same, and they're just not that. They stopped being good after the first scene of Terrifier 1. Like, it feels like a lot of unnecessary gore, and I'm not saying that if you like that kind of movie, cool, go watch it.
I mean, a lot of people do, because it's making a lot of money.
I mean, and it's making a good bit of money. That's why I'm like, I'm not necessarily mad that there's a franchise like this.
I'm not against it either. I'm for it. Like, we're at a point where, like, I'm glad it is shaking up Hollywood, because they need to be shook at this point. And they're like, those executives, they're baffled that this $2 million thing has turned into a $60 million movie in just less than a month.
I will say, like I said, as long as they follow the same plan of Terrifier 3 as to where I feel like they can go in Terrifier 4, I think it'll be a solid film. Will I watch it in theaters? No. I still won't pay to watch this movie, because I'm not like huge into it to the point where like I'm like, oh my God, I have to watch this movie. You know,
and that's the thing where I'm weird. Like, and that's what I was trying to explain to my girlfriend last time we watched this. Like, I'm weird when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, some of the stuff I'm like, I guess you could say I'm a little prudish on, but then other stuff when it comes to those movies, I'm not. Like, we went and saw Evil Dead Rise, whenever that was, like a year ago. I laughed through the entire fucking movie. Like, and I was the fucking weirdo in that sold out theater that was laughing during the entire thing.
But that was a good one. Like,
it's a good movie.
It's a good movie, and they even do gore heavily in that one too. But
that thing at the end was fucked up. Like, the way
it's still not as stupid as how they do Terrifier. That's the thing that kills me. Is like, gore can be done correctly and look great.
Yeah.
I just think the people who are sitting there writing these deaths are like, how can we make somebody's body explode but not explode entirely?
Yeah.
Because like that's essentially how it is. Like the most tamed kill in this entire movie is Art shot somebody in the head.
Yeah, and that there's a scene like that in the original movie where it kind of came out of nowhere, where all of a sudden he just uses a gun.
Like, that was like, probably when he did that, I was probably like, damn,
Oh,
Like, okay,
well, and that, like I said, and then when you go back to why I like the character, why I think it's a cool character is like his facial expressions. Like there are parts in that movie, at least in the first one, where it's like he'll go to do something, like he's firing that gun, it runs out of bullets, and you see him like roll his eyes and get mad about it or get frustrated. Or there's another scene in that movie where someone stabs him in the leg and starts to get away, and he just fucking flicks them off.
Yeah. I mean,
so like, it's great. Like he's great as a character.
The dude's facial expressions are hands down some of the best I've ever seen in a movie, and like he makes it, even though he doesn't talk, like it's good. Like he's really good.
And there's parts I'll even say, like, just watching the first one, like the way that he presents it, there are times in that movie where it can actually come off creepy.
Yeah.
If you look at it from a certain lens, you can look at it and go, like, it's kind of creepy. This dude literally just murdered this person. I sit there smiling, like, exactly. So,
and that's how it is. Like, I will say it. I mean, definitely, if I say if you're really gonna watch it, I mean,
at this point, it's the third one. If you know what you're getting into,
yeah, you really do know what you're getting into. I will say, like I said, out of all of them, the one scene with the glass was just the one that made me go, huh? Like, it's only in it for shock value because it really was not needed. But the story in Terrifier 3 was well played out, and it actually has made me go, okay, I'm interested to watch Terrifier 4. So I mean, that's it. That I watched all three of them. The first two were complete and utter garbage. The third one was tolerable, and we'll see how the fourth one
maybe
goes.
You get to the fourth one and we can say it was good.
It was decent.
Not great. Yeah,
I'm gonna say
like not great. It's good.
It's just like, oh man, and I don't know, like people who are just like saying it's the best film, like I have to call you out. You're a liar because there's so many other better movies than this one.
Even just this year, horror, like in general, has just it's been on fire all year, and there's still like there's that Heretic movie out in a couple weeks with can't think of his name right now. An actor that would be unexpected to be in a horror movie where you're okay, I'm kind of in on that because I would never expect this person to be in a horror movie.
Yeah.
And the premise of it looks crazy. And it's one of those where like, even if it's bad, which I don't think it will be, I think it'll be fine. Hugh Grant. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. Even if it is bad, and I don't think it will be, it's a unique thing. Like it's completely unique.
Well, and it's Hugh Grant. I mean, this dude did romance movies back in like the 2000s. You know, I mean,
right, like I said, when that trailer came out, like Hugh Grant horror movie, I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about? I had to watch that.
Like a part of me, like I saw the trailer for it too, and I was like, huh. Okay.
Yeah, I'm down interested for that. We even in January we got that Wolfman reboot that actually looks really good.
Did you send me the clip of that other wolf movie where it's like
I also want to see that werewolves where it's Frank Grillo, and it's like I think I can only describe it as like it's kind of like The Purge
with
except everybody turns into werewolves.
Yeah.
And it happened once like the previous year, and so it's about the second year of it happening, these people preparing for it.
Mm-hmm.
It like the werewolves themselves actually look pretty decent from the trailer.
They look really solid.
It just looks like a fun, stupid fucking movie, but that I would really like to see. I'm shocked it's in theaters. I may go. I don't know. I might go just for the sheer like it's actually in a fucking movie theater. I don't know yet, but I know the next thing that I will go see because my girlfriend and I were just talking about it today. We're both gonna go see Moana 2.
Oh God, yeah.
She wants to see it. So, do you see the popcorn bucket?
No, they got a popcorn bucket?
So there's a popcorn bucket and a nacho boat.
Oh.
It's a nacho boat. And then the popcorn bucket's like away. The popcorn bucket's really impractical. I'll say this. It looks cool, but it's highly impractical. Oh, the nacho boat actually makes sense. So.
Okay, I see it.
But it's at I know what theater it's at for us. It's probably not the theater we're going to go to. So, and then obviously my last big movie of the year is Nosferatu, which I cannot wait for.
Yeah.
So that I will go. I really want to go Christmas Day. I don't know if it's going to happen. So
I'm hoping
my girlfriend I think has to work.
I'm hoping to get. I'm hoping that my youngest would want to go. He's been interested in seeing Moana.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping he can sit through it. I think that's a movie we're gonna try to take him to like in the morning, so that maybe there's not a lot of people, just in case he gets wiry, we can leave.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to see that too. And I want to see Wicked. I know.
I don't. No, that's fine. No, you're fine. Like that's one that me and my friend, like every time we just laugh at the trailer, I'm like, it's not going to do the business they want it to do. I don't.
Oh God, no. Definitely.
I think it's going to bomb.
Oh yeah, no, and I hate that. But realistically, like,
I'm not a musical person, so
musicals do not make it well in movie theaters. It sucks, but that's literally how it always goes, because people don't like watching people sing. I mean, that's like when I saw what's it called? Damn, that one.
Sweeney Todd?
No, not Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd was good.
Sweeney Todd was a solid one.
Very good.
I can't remember now at the top of my head which one it was, but there was a movie I did go see, and a lot of people were just talking about it. And I don't know. I'm a theater kid, so I'm always down to watch musicals like that. And I've never seen Wicked on Broadway, so I'm down to watch it.
I don't.
But I don't ever expect those movies to ever do well. Like,
no, like at that point, I'd rather see Gladiator 2, and I don't think Gladiator 2 is very good either.
No, I don't think.
But just out of like morbid curiosity, I want to see it. So
I'm down. But
and then I pray every day that Megalopolis comes out so I can see that digital. That's the other one. Like, I know it's gonna be trash. It's gonna be terrible, and it probably won't live up to that stupid fucking TikTok thing I sent you. But
it doesn't matter. I still want to watch it.
I want to see it. I need to see it for myself. I need to see that train wreck.
Oh, I see that nacho boat. That's actually pretty. I mean,
the nacho boat I think looks cool, but like the popcorn bucket also looks cool, but it's just super impractical. Like all of those things.
Yeah, I don't see how it. Yeah, I agree. There's
like the Venom head.
Yeah, I will say when we went to Disney this past weekend. Disney is creating some really cool popcorn buckets. Like,
yeah,
you haven't been.
I believe it.
Yeah, they had one of the characters from Nightmare Before Christmas, and his head opened up into the actual popcorn piece. It was pretty cool.
Well, I will say, the next time when Dan's here to join us, he will fully review Venom 3. He has seen it. I won't spoil anything about it.
I'm excited.
But he has plenty. I will tell you, he has plenty to say about it. So we'll jump into emails here. We don't have too many this week. First one, actually, somebody who wrote in last week, Brian from Redacted. Hi, guys. I want to thank you for taking my email in the last episode of the podcast. Since then, I listened to your advice and I went in and canceled all my reserves. To my luck, the guy that did this to me was there. He questioned why I was canceling the reserve. I told him straight up why. Tried to feed me some bullshit about how it was an automated thing the system did, but come on.
Garbage.
For now, I'm going to heed your advice and check out Best Buy. Thanks again.
I mean, I don't
last episode, just to explain to anybody who hasn't listened to the last episode, he had written in that somebody, an employee at GameStop, had automatically taken one of his coupons, I think like a $5 off coupon, and added it to get like a GPG, which is crazy, but as I've said before, not unheard of in GameStop land, even not back really. When I was there. So, and
the fact that guy's even trying to say it was an automated thing is bullshit, because every time I've had my coupon, they've always go, "Hey, you want to use your $5 off today?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not? I'm not coming back this month."
Yeah.
So that's insane.
I haven't had an active pro card. It's probably been 2 years now.
Well, and the only reason I had mine was because I had accumulated points to get it every year.
Yeah,
and that never bothered me, because they were like, "Hey, you want to use your points to like?"
No, that's the way you should do it.
Yeah, honestly. Not a problem at all.
You're basically not paying for it.
Yeah, and I'm okay.
But the discount's not even that good anymore. That's the thing. Like,
it's not worth it.
No, especially not to pay for it out of pocket.
Not at
all. We'll get in. I'll read these next two emails because they are linked together. As I alluded to earlier, Dragon Age, the Veilguard. Greg from Austin, Texas. Howdy, guys. Love the podcast. Curious your thoughts on all the scuttle going on with this Dragon Age game. Do you believe the reviews are actually genuine on this game, or that it's all been a gigantic smear campaign by EA to sell more copies of the game because they were concerned about sales going to be much lower than anticipated? Do any of you plan on playing this game? Are any of you even a fan of this franchise? Thanks. This got an email from Brandon from Des Moines, Iowa. Hi, 572 crew. I'm curious. I'm sure I'm not the only one that'll write in about this, but I'm curious what you all think about this Dragon Age review fiasco, and if it has changed your opinions on playing the game at all or not. I mean, for me, I think I've been pretty vocal the whole time saying I'm not going to play this game, and a lot of it has to do with the art style. I just think it looks terrible.
Yeah.
We've known for a while. I think where I lost interest in a new Dragon Age is when they shifted from it was going to be called Dreadwolf, and it was going to specifically go following up with a specific character from the third game, and they were going to go down this whole path, and that character is very interesting. And then in the last 2, maybe 3 years, they threw all that out the window, restarted, and turned it into what you have today. Everything I've seen on it is bad. Yes, the reviews are out there. You can get into the controversy of it definitely does seem like they are really pushing this game hard. As far as trying to sell copies, because what's weird to me is okay, so they did this thing, and I don't know how far you personally have looked into it, but they did this thing where when it came time to hand out codes for this game to influencers, to critics or whatever, anybody that said anything negative in preview events from the game a month ago suddenly didn't get a code for the game.
That makes sense.
And one very prominent YouTube channel, I want to say they're called Fextra Life. They're more of a RPG guide channel.
Okay.
So they do guides for Dark Souls, Elden Ring, that kind of stuff, RPGs, right?
Yeah.
You would think why wouldn't you send those people a code, right? You send them for all. I mean, we're talking about a YouTube channel that has over 1 million subscribers. It's nothing to scoff at. They didn't get sent a code, and that guy put up a video, and he was straight up honest. This is why we do not have a review today. You can take it how you will, but it does kind of seem like they're trying to push a narrative here with this game. Mm-hmm. There were a couple other prominent YouTubers that didn't get codes, and there were a couple prominent YouTubers that did get codes and were very negative on the game. Just down to, and the one thing I'll say is performance wise, it seems like the game runs fine on everything. It's not a broken game by any means, but it comes down to the combat, which I'm not there is a certain fun to the combat of these games that just seems like they threw out the window with this one.
Yeah.
And turned it more into a fast-paced hack and slash, which that for an RPG, that's not interesting to me. If it was an action game, sure, whatever. And then the writing. That's the biggest thing most people complain besides the art style is the writing's terrible. It's the kind of thing I've seen where it's one of the great things about these games, or Mass Effect or anything BioWare has made, is you can either be a really good character or you can be a fucking dick. It's one or the other, right? You can ride the line of okay, maybe here I'll be a dick, maybe here I'll be a good guy. But that's the fun of these games. You have either a Paragon or a Renegade. I forget what the system's called in Dragon Age, but that's the system specifically in Mass Effect. But from my understanding and everything I've seen on this game is you can either be nice guy or nice guy that says things a little more sternly.
Yeah.
Another thing about it is one of the biggest aspects of the writing in these games is inner conflict in your team. Mm-hmm. There's always situations where you're the leader of this team, be it the fantasy setting or the space setting. And there's always going to be characters that don't fucking get along with each other. And you have to cut that tension and make a decision on what side you're on with it, or try to have them come to an agreement. There is none of that in this game. Everybody just fucking plays nice with each other. It's really weird.
It's wild.
I'm not going to play it. I already said, months ago, I'm not interested in playing the game. Not because I don't like Dragon Age. I like the franchise, but I just don't think that this is Dragon Age. It's going to do fine sales wise, but I do think it's not going to sell as well as the other Dragon Age games. And I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to like the sales of this game, it'll underperform.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it'll be that situation of like, is that the last Dragon Age? It might be.
Maybe it needs to be.
But yeah, as far as I go, I'm not really like super happy on playing. I'm not going to play it. So,
I mean, I've never played a Dragon Age game. I don't intend on starting with this one. So we'll just leave it at that.
And the other thing I'll say too is like, as far as the critic stuff goes, like I stopped trusting main websites like IGN and GameSpot and stuff years ago because it just doesn't matter anymore. Which will lead into our next email here in a second.
Yeah, and I feel like we've talked about this before in the aspect of maybe just watch people play it, and if it's something that stands out to you, like go ahead and give it a shot. Because
like either you find a YouTuber that you like that might share, have an opinion that you trust, or like you're saying, just go on YouTube and watch footage of the game and make your own decision.
Well, and that's how I felt with Black Myth Wukong, because like everybody was talking about it. And that everybody was talking about that. Everybody was saying how great of a game it was. It was selling like hotcakes. And then like I saw some people playing it and I was like, I don't think it's interesting. Not for the price tag. I'm like, I don't think it's interesting. And then like I went over to one of my good friends' house and he was like, yo, you want to watch me play this? And I was like, yeah, sure, run it. Let's see what's up. And he was playing it and I was just like, no, I don't think I'm excited.
Not for full price.
Not like, and I bought, Ghost of Tsushima for, I think like 25, but I was okay with that. And I was like,
it's a good price for that game.
I know it's a good game, but I was like, I'm not going to play it really quick. I'm not going to buy it day one. I've stopped buying games day one because I just can't trust them anymore.
I've slowed way down on it.
And it's like, okay, so if I watch something and a game just doesn't stick out, or even if I watch like trailers on it and the game just doesn't stand out for me, I don't want it, and I'm not going to pay full price for it. So I mean, I don't stop doing it. Like
I think that's the number one thing I've learned and tried to follow in the last year is to not buy as many games day one.
Yeah,
just because A, you can't trust a lot of these critics anyways, and B, these things go on sale so fast. Like every game. Unless Nintendo aside, because Nintendo's their own thing. But like,
we know Nintendo don't go nowhere.
Yeah, but Nintendo does what they want. But PlayStation, Xbox, especially if it's a big budget game like an Ubisoft game or EA or something, like Dragon Age, I guarantee Black Friday they give me $40.
Yeah, for
40,
sure.
$45.
That's
why this year I did the thing where I was like, all right, I'm going to make a list of these games that I probably would buy day one and they would just sit here and I'll just buy them on Black Friday.
Yeah,
and they can still sit here, but I paid less money,
And I don't feel as bad when I buy.
And I don't feel as bad.
Yeah, 5 games for $20 versus 1 game for $70.
Exactly. So, like even I'll say even Silent Hill, I paid full price for that, and I getting through it. I'm like I'm enjoying it, and I'm having a good time with it. But I'm like, part of me is like, I could have waited a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, there are some franchises you played before, and when a remake like that happens, you want to definitely get it and check it out. But that's understandable. Like,
yeah, like I have mine.
Yeah, I just can't see. I mean, shit, not even gonna lie. If they released a Tenchu remaster, I wouldn't even blink. I would have pre-ordered that and gotten the collector's edition. Like, you could have told me it came with stickers and a stuffed plushie. I probably would have bought it because, like, I just love that game, and I really would love for it to come out again. But I know it's not going to.
Fair enough. Yeah, for me, it's either it has to be a franchise I know, like if it's a Resident Evil, I'll be there day one, type of thing. Or in the case of like East 10 Nordics, that's a franchise I know, like you're not going to walk into even a GameStop and probably find a copy of that. And if you do, it's the one gutted copy because nobody is buying it. You know what I mean? So like for that, I was like, I don't care about buying that day one.
Yeah,
because it's going to dry up.
Yeah, for sure. And that's how it is, like you just have to, you just don't listen to big people like IGN and all of them anymore. Like, just do your own research.
That leads into our next email. And one that I wish Dan was here for, because he probably have more to say on this than I do. Right? But Joe from, I hope I say this right. Marysville, Wyoming. I think that's how you say
I'm
it.
going with that.
Enjoyed your conversation last week on the Alana Pierce video situation, but I'm curious, you guys started to go off on Greg Miller and then kind of just let that be. What's the deal with Greg Miller and why the hate? Thanks. That's been a thing for like even well before the podcast. That's been a thing between Dan and I for years. We have, I don't want to say, hate's a strong word. I don't want to say the word hate. But I have a strong dislike for Greg Miller. I find him very disingenuous, I guess would be the easiest way. And it's become more apparent as the years have gone on. Like he had his things that happened, obviously, early on, like in the early 2000s and stuff. And then he started Kind of Funny. And I'll full disclosure, I watched Kind of Funny content for a year. I kind of got into it, not because of Greg Miller, but because I like Colin Moriarty. And I like the rapport those two had with each other. And then they had this thing that happened in 2017 where it really seemed like Colin just wanted to be done. But there was also this thing where it was like he said a joke on Twitter at the height of the Me Too movement. He got canceled for a while over it, but it was a joke. And that's kind of water in the bridge now. He has literally the most successful PlayStation podcast. His podcast is more successful than Kind of Funny as a whole, which is ironically kind of funny to me, but like, there's no better way to say it. But the bigger thing that I have a problem with now more than anything is this sudden push that he has into politics, which makes no sense because like, and for me, like I keep the channel and I stay apolitical. And my thing is like, I don't give a fuck who you vote for. At the end of the day, it's your personal thing. It's your decision. Like you want to vote for one person or the other. I don't give a fuck. But when you start taking campaign money from one of the campaigns and then and your whole shtick of your Kind of Funny crew is like, you know, the Kind of Funny crew accepts anybody has now turned into, well, the Kind of Funny crew accepts anybody if you vote a certain way.
Yeah.
I have a problem with. Because it's like, what does it have to do with video games? Exactly nothing. And they did this during the 2020 election with Biden, and they're doing the same thing again now with Kamala Harris. And it's like I'm not like when I say it's gotten to an extreme level. I saw the other day because I have YouTube Premium, so I never see ads. But I went over to my girlfriend's house, or my girlfriend's house. My girlfriend lives with me. My girlfriend's parents' house, and her dad was watching YouTube, and he doesn't have YouTube Premium, so you see ads, right? I kid you not, a political ad with Greg Miller came on. And I just was like, what the fuck is happening? Kind of thing. It came up literally paid for by the Harris campaign, and I'm just like, really, dude? Like, it just seems like he'll sell out for anything. So it's that I don't like it. Like his opinions on games have always been he's just too easygoing on him, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a long string of things. Like I said, Dan has much more to say about Greg Miller, I think, than I do. But I like I said, it's not a hate. It's a strong dislike. So, and the other thing I'll kick off on it really quick because it leads back into Dragon Age is, and I don't. So I follow like Cal Morty. I listen to some of that podcast, and I'll say like the other thing too is like I straight up don't agree with a lot of that guy's opinions on games.
Yeah,
like, but that's the fun of watching that kind of content. Well, as this Gamergate bullshit continues to go on, I don't know if you're familiar with this person on Twitter named Grums. You heard of this person? Have we talked about this person? Okay, so Grums is what I would like. I hate using the term grifter because it's like the most over fucking used word in English language right now. But for lack of a better term, this dude is a grifter. Okay. And the other day when this Dragon Age bullshit was going on, and it was this, you know, there was all these reviews came out and there's this controversy like, well, is something happening here with these reviews? Is it not? This motherfucker, somebody sent this dude an NDA document. It is the most fake fucking thing you'll ever see in your life. Like you look at it literally from the screenshot this dude shared on Twitter, it has a cursor on the image. So like, no, dude, this isn't an actual document. It's written. It has all sorts of spelling errors, but this dude ran with it anyway. It was like, here's a leaked document. This went to the Mr. Matty Plays, I think is the YouTuber's name, but he's part of that Last Stand Media thing with Count Moriarty.
Okay.
And the whole thing about it is, if you know anything about that platform, those people are not Access Media. They don't get any games. They are 100% against being Access Media so that they can keep their opinions their own. So it's all a bunch of bullshit. But this motherfucker ran with this on Twitter to the point that I've never seen this happen with Colin Moriarty, because he's kind of just done with Twitter. He actually got on Twitter and had to post a thing and say, this is false. I can't even believe you're running with this. And then offered the guy to come on his podcast so they could talk about why he's wrong, which I thought was hilarious. The guy will never do it.
That's crazy.
But it's just one of those things where we keep getting into this stupid bubble of this culture war with games where I'm like, I just wish it would end. We could go back to just having games. Like, create your game, make whatever fucking game you want, and the market will decide if they like it or not.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
what's happened this year more than anything. Market decides, hey, is this game good? Is it not? Look at the things that have sold. Like, look at even Black Myth Wukong. Like, you scratch your head at, I do too, because I bought it. I fell into the hype, and I was like, shit, I should play this game. Everybody's talking about it, and I don't understand why that game sold 20 million copies in 3 days. But I'm not saying it's a bad game. I think it's fine, but like, it's not my type of game.
Yeah.
So, and if I really should have watched YouTube footage before. So, because I would have been like, all right, I get it, but I don't need to play that right now. Because that's what happened. Plus the guy's voice, when he opened his mouth, I was like, holy shit. This character, I don't know if I could take his English voice very well. Because like I said, it's supposed to be this menacing monkey man, right? Mm-hmm. You look at the guy and I'm like, okay, this guy. As I mute my mic there, it's going to be a hardcore motherfucker. And then he opens his mouth, it's like, hi, honey. Like, it's like with that Mickey Mouse type voice. I'm like, oh boy, this not going to be great. So that's it. We can end on that though with the Greg Miller stuff. Like, again, I don't hate the person. I just strong dislike. Our final email is actually a recommendation, ironically, and a recommendation of a game I already have. So that I'll be getting to, but regardless, I'll read. I like when you guys recommend games. I hope that we get more recommendations. We haven't gotten any in a while.
Not in a minute, yeah.
Dean from Columbus, Ohio. Howdy, guys. I have a game recommendation for you, although I think you've mentioned it before. I just picked up East 10 Nordics, and I have to say I'm enjoying it. It's a good throwback JRPG feel to it, and I'm enjoying it much more than East 9. East 7 brought me into this franchise, and 8 is one of the best games ever made, in my opinion. I agree with them. Highly recommended if you haven't gotten it yet. So, yeah, I bought, like I alluded to before, I bought it mostly because, again, East is a weird franchise that I'll give you an example. It's really weird. If you go look up the PS4 version of East 8, it's like $100 game right now because nobody fucking bought the game.
Yeah.
East 9, I think, is in the 60-70 range too. So it's just one of those franchises where like they make a run of it, like probably one printing and it's over. So I will be checking it out. My thing right now is I'm gonna get through Call of Duty, and by the time I get through Call of Duty, we should have Dragon Quest, and then I'm gonna make that decision. What one do I want to play more? Right now? Dragon Quest or East? Which Dragon Quest? I mean, I guess you could make that argument. I could probably wait on that game if I really wanted to instead of buying it right away. But I feel like that game might be another one that dries up physically.
I could see that.
Kind of like we all got into the Visions of Mana, but that studio closed, so it's like, whoa, might be time to buy that game before it disappears. So
yeah, that's the whole reason I grabbed it, because I was like, well, let me go ahead and grab this.
Yeah. So, but again, as always, send your emails into podcast572@gmail.com. Send in your recommendations.
Yeah,
we haven't had any for a while. Tell me about some weird, I want to know, tell me about a weird fucking horror game that you like on Steam, because that platform has a plethora of them. Like, every time I open it, there's a new one I've never heard of.
Yeah,
so
for real. I
like horror. I want to play more horror games.
Yeah, I'm totally down for.
There's a new one I just saw when I opened Steam up earlier today. and I believe it's from the same like Puppet Combo people that made Murder House and some of those. And I want to say, I know the name of this is wrong. I want to say it's called Be Kind Rewind. I don't think that's the name of it because that's a movie. But it's something about Rewind, and I think it has to do with like a slasher in a video store or something.
Let me see.
Maybe it's called like Rewind or Die or something like that.
Oh, yep, that is one. It says
Rewind or Die. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was one where I'm like, boy, that seems cool as hell.
There's a serial killer stalking your video store, and you just got called into work on your day off. Stock the shelves, deal with customers, and run for your life. It looks. It's very shitty looking, but not in a bad way.
Does it look like it's probably like those other games where it looks like a PS1 game era?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see that's the aesthetic that development team goes for.
Yeah. That's why I said like not in a bad way, but it definitely is like that. And it's only $11.99. That's not, if you could actually, it looks like there's a bundle.
Okay.
Of a ton of different games. So the bundle is called the Torture Star Bundle. Okay. And it includes a game called Bloodwash.
I have that.
Night at the Gates of Hell.
I have that.
Deadly Night.
I have that.
Stay Out of the House.
I have that one.
Murder. Good God, man. Murder House.
Murder House is the one that I first played. Yeah.
Oh,
I love that game. You should play that one.
I might have to look at this one. This is the Horror of Salazar House.
Okay. Murder House was the first one I played. That's the one with the Easter Bunny killer. Yeah. You will like that game.
Okay. One called Search Party. Christmas Massacre, and then Rewind or Die.
I have Christmas Massacre. I need to try that.
Yeah. Not bad. Interesting.
Well, how much is the bundle?
$55.81.
That'll go on sale.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if you've never played any of those games, play Murder House. Okay. That was the one I started with. That I remember buying that game the day that I bought it. Like my girlfriend sat watched me play the entire thing because she got into it as well. It's like a lost PS1 era type horror game.
Yeah.
But the Easter Bunny's a killer.
Yeah, it looks
is the killer. I should say a guy in an Easter Bunny outfit, but it's really well done. It has one really good jump scare.
Oh, interesting. Well, I definitely will have to.
I'm pretty immune to jump scares at this point, but that was a good one. Every once in a while,
a good jump scare will catch me, especially if it's done well.
If it's done well, if it's a movie where like that's the whole fucking point of the movie, I get angry because I'm like, this is dumb.
Same.
So I should say at the end here, that's the other horror movie that I can't wait to see once it's up here is Smile 2.
Yeah, I
really want to see it.
I had a friend of mine's go and see that, and she said it was way better than.
Which is crazy. I like the first one. It just you and I agreed like they shouldn't have shown that thing at the end.
No,
so, and it sounds from what I've read, it sounds like they don't really show much of the actual entity in this movie, which is good. So
yeah, I'm cool with that if they don't do that, but we'll see. I mean, ultimately,
it's a smart move.
What happens.
But yeah, as always, you can send your emails, recommendations into podcast572@gmail.com. Otherwise, we will be back in another 2 weeks for another edition of the podcast. As always, thank you for listening.
Stay safe.